let the bass kick.
Drop the beat.
Drop the beat.
Is there a beat
Drop the beat and make it hot. Make it hot.
Drop right now.
Do what?
Is there even a beat to drop?
Well,
Hey,
duh.
yeah. Hey, yeah. Mr. Wendell, Tennessee.
Pineapple. Day after event 2, we in the studio in Sapphire. We got Justin, Zach Hoy, and
This is
we
to
got
my left.
Will.
That's
We
to
got
my right.
Jay.
We're gonna have a good night.
It's
My man
Introduce
Steve
everybody.
Rolling. Yeah,
Jay to my left, Justin to my right.
1994.
And Marcus, it's gonna be a good night.
Yeah, it already
Damn,
is. It already is.
I'm striking out tonight,
Yeah, it's okay.
folks.
What up?
Rocket.
What up?
Just keep taking swings, Holmes.
Hey,
Maybe
I'm
swing
never.
it. Maybe you'll give him a
Shoot.
cold.
Hey, keep shooting, shooter.
Will's ominous. Was that the
I kept
Dolby?
throwing
right.
stroke. I
I'm
kept
just
throwing
pretending
discs
I'm the other
yesterday.
one. Yeah.
I just kept
Throwing that
throwing them.
shade.
I was a snake handler.
Who won?
I'm a slippery little
I was a
snake.
snake handler
Who won
yesterday.
versus the podcast people?
Oh yeah,
You weren't.
We
We
have
poked
that
it
on
with a
video.
stick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Welcome.
I used the stick, but I mean, I handled the stick that handled the snake.
Yes, that you did.
Transitive property and all.
More details to come on that
More
story.
details on just the
On that
tip.
breaking
Marcus
news.
Rogers coming up after the break.
Yeah.
Watch out, pineapple.
Yeah, so we did learn. Well, by the way, welcome to episode 29 of Last Cash. Hello, everybody. Golf snaps for you for being here.
Thanks for tuning in.
We're going to have some fun tonight. And yeah, we did learn that because now we have the pineapple. Shout out to Telly. Our obviously our safe word for the show is pineapple.
We're commemorating.
Yeah, and I've spent in the tradition of doing everything like we do bass backwards. We just recorded the second part of the show before the first part of the show. So welcome to the first part of the show, but for us it's the second part of the show. So
Craziness. We're
Yeah.
time travelers.
yeah, so Jay brought us a neon pineapple, and it's awesome. But we have found out that when it is in studio lighting, you can't tell that it's actually colored, and it has like an orangish bottom and a greenish top, like MCDG
neon.
colors.
Yeah, we actually wear a lot of makeup on the show. It actually takes us a long time to get ready. I
Yeah.
just asked Marcus.
Thanks to the girls in the makeup department.
Yeah, for sure. They have a thankless job. You want to talk about thankless jobs?
Hey, we never even mentioned them before. That's kind of rude of us.
They overdid it. We need that picture, okay?
They overdid it on my blush a little
This is what
bit.
we're
They,
going
they
with.
did, but we'll work on that.
We're going to put this picture on here, Will?
Take it out and post.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, that's going in there. That's going in there.
Is that, you want to pose with
You got to
this
start
time?
taking pictures in landscape mode because it throws off the whole video, and you can only
landscape.
yeah.
Perfect.
Then
There
people
we go.
get pissed at you on
We got
Facebook
it.
and like, why did you take it in that mode? It's just sideways on my screen.
We were doing Facebook Live viewing on Doc versus Doc Challenge, and everybody's like, "Turn the camera." We turned it back. It was so messed up. Alpo was like, "I'm getting sick."
Yeah, speaking of camera fails, you guys, some of you who have already seen, earlier today I posted up, I teased over the last couple weeks about some new segments that we've got coming to the show, one of them being Saturdays are for the boys, which is just a glimpse into what we get into on the weekends.
Shout out to Barstool Sports.
Yeah, shout out, yep. And we, I'm just ripping it off. I really don't care. Nobody's watching anyway. So, what? Who? What?
New sponsor.
No, just we might. That's a working title. We might tweak that later. But anyway, yeah, we played a bag tag this weekend. Yesterday, it was event 2 in the 2021 Music City Disc Golf Bag Tag Series at Cane Ridge Park. Mm-hmm. So that was a great success. How many players?
223, a combination of pros and amateurs.
Amateur.
To be found. To be found.
To be fair.
Amateur.
Oh,
Nailed it.
Wow. Barbershop quartet.
That was
Quintet.
I'm out. Count me out.
Yeah. So welcome to the show, guys. We are talking to so weird to frame that in the future when we just did it in the past. But yeah, we were talking to Jonathan Poole tonight, who is the tournament director for the championship, aka the United States Disc Golf Championship, the big show, the Super Bowl of disc golf, if you will. And dude, he has just so much knowledge and so many stories and so many things that he could talk about. And we chatted with him for about an hour and a half, and we're definitely going to have to do a part 2 because that guy is just a wealth, a fount, if you will, of disc golf knowledge.
The surface.
Just scratch the surface.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Thank you for his time. Thank you for your time, sir.
yeah,
Yes. Yep.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your future time and interview.
And
It's
all
going to happen
the
after
knowledge
this
and
Your
section.
past, future
Advice that
time.
you've given us.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, and we talked
Or that you
quite a
both
bit
of us?
ad nauseum.
We need a Marcus reaction cam on just my my statements tonight. He's like,
We talked at length about how
Throwing
much
elbows left and right.
about how much. Yeah, I'm over here just mouthing off. We talked at length about how the USDGC is a model for not only for the Music City Open, but for all the big tournaments. You know, everybody wants to. You know, when you talk about making your event bigger, that's what you're shooting for. Is a GDO or DDO or USDGC. You know, those that's the top of the mountain.
a
right there.
destination event.
Yeah. And you talk about somebody having seen it all, man. That guy's been working for Innova since '97, been running the USDGC just about as long.
Yeah.
I mean,
97.
99.
That's
that's 20 plus years. I mean, almost 25.
when
Nine
their
to
only
the-
sponsored teammate was Ken Climo. I mean, good first
in the day.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like one
I mean,
to
that's if you got to make
one
it.
to
Well, I
100.
guess
You got to start with somebody.
At some point, if you're
Good
sitting there
choice.
and you got King Climo throwing all your discs, you're like,
Well,
we should probably make that a thing. Yeah.
yeah, let's do that.
It's good
Yeah.
for biz.
Now look at it.
10-time Climo. We should employ somebody
Oh,
else.
wonder how many times he was before they gave him the sponsorship.
Right.
yeah,
for
we need to
sure.
get on this guy. I think he's going to be pretty good.
I mean, he's won 3 already. Maybe we.
Yeah.
Yeah, kicking it with us in the
seventh time.
studio this week is none other than superfan Justin Morris. Golf snaps for Justin Morris. Golf snaps,
Golf snaps up in here.
If you guys watched the video from the bag tag that was released today, you saw that we presented him with some goodies. It was his birthday. He's been giving us gobs of money. So we're just basically here
To get back.
polishing the shoes, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's also,
No.
tax season, so you can probably claim those donations.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
not for nonprofit,
Yeah.
but, just
Next
claim that you donated.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, he's donating his time right now.
Sure.
That's very true. Which is more
That was
valuable
pretty
than money, I hear.
expensive yesterday because the amount of shots we combined.
Whoa! We don't give anything
like-
away yet. We don't give anything away yet.
It's all good.
I'll
In the
get back
video,
to you
you
on
only
my
see the
rates,
good
Will.
ones.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
Yeah, but
why
we got into this talking about epic camera fails because there was one hole which you guys will not see on the video. You would have, but it was the field of broken dreams. It was the Bermuda Triangle effect from MCO commentary, where me and Jay just could not get in circle one.
Hole
it was
8.
Oh, goodness
off the
gracious.
basket, roll a mile away. There was a snake involved, a water hazard, all kinds of
3 rollaways
shenanigans.
combined. Three.
Yeah, one after
mine was
another.
just a bad
and
putt.
when you're watching the video clips, Justin has the perfect view, and it's just dink, and it starts to roll, cuts off. I'm like, man, how can you? I mean, there's timing is a thing in comedy.
I
It's ti-
I
timing
signed
is
up
everything.
amateur yesterday.
You definitely signed up for amateur cameraman. I should have known what I was getting myself into.
You did great. You did
we love
wonderful.
you, man.
I'm just
Don't
kidding.
worry, there are plenty of misses to see.
Yes, there are. Not anymore. They have
We didn't
all.
do it
I
justice.
emptied my trash once I exported that
Yeah.
video. I did. Yes, I did. But I would have kept those rollaways had you captured them on film. Thank you very
the
much.
rollaways were very unfortunate.
I don't know.
I was hoping for makes.
I've
I
been
mean, I
calling
was
him-
on the pro side, and
I've been
Yeah.
calling him super fan, and I think our definition of super might be in jeopardy or in.
You watch your
slightly
tongue, sir.
questionable.
You watch your tongue, sir.
dare you besmirch me like that?
Hey, everybody,
Yeah,
Slow motion roll.
watch the show and talk about it online, and this is what you
Dongle.
can look forward to: is being invited into the studio so that we can make fun of you
And
in front of the
berate you.
entire internet.
on
Yes.
the internet.
What was the?
And if we don't, that means we don't like you.
If anybody
we
had to
do-
guess, what was the fastest throw? Does anyone remember a particularly fast throw yesterday? Or
What do you
maybe
mean?
maybe
What do you
I'll kind of specify what was the fastest putt yesterday.
What did
Oh,
was it
yeah.
an overhand
That's
putt or-
definitely.
or-
I got that
it
one. in the
was an
books.
overhand putt.
Yeah,
It
Michael
was.
Holland. Yeah.
Jay makes me do funny things sometimes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you walk out in front of somebody right when they're putting.
Twice.
Yeah, twice.
2 putts back
Same
to back.
hole.
No biggie.
not
However,
get that
in
on
my
camera
defense,
either,
there's
so.
the largest pine tree you've ever seen that I was trying to peer around to see when he had putted.
Well,
And
I wouldn't
literally
say
my timing
peer.
was
I would
off.
say dance.
Yeah, dance around. Yeah,
Double Dutch. Kind of
Well,
like
what
sweating to
happened
the oldies
was,
kind of
see
a,
what
kind of a
happened
thing.
was.
And then just when I thought you disappeared and it was safe to try and throw again.
Walk right in front of me.
What the?
That the second time, literally, I was like trying to peek around. I was like, okay, he's already putted. We're good. And then I take a step, and he's like putting again. I'm like, God. And Will's like, I'm really, really sorry, Will. Like, I really am.
I'm really sorry. I did it again.
Oops, I did it.
Yes.
At this point, it's just like
So mine is.
Well,
leave
it's
Brittany
Jay.
alone.
There's another reaction cam from
Our
Mark.
reaction camera's like
Like
going crazy
Brittany.
right now.
So, yes.
Leave Brittany alone.
It was a fiasco of a round yesterday.
yeah.
I had a good time.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
It was
I had
great.
fun. I mean,
It was ran spectacular.
excerpt 3 holes, probably
Yeah.
3 holes cut out of that. I wasn't having very much fun. After that, I was having fun.
Yeah.
I was having fun again. It's fun. It's disc golf. Yeah, but it's funny, I think about, man, I only play at bag tags. Like I realized going out there, I hadn't
Yeah.
played since the last one.
Yeah.
But then about halfway through, I realized why I only play at bag tags, because it takes me a month to feel like playing again after I
Oh,
play
especially Cane Ridge. Man, I was sore this morning.
one. Dude, 30 holes at 7 Oaks was E1.
Yeah, I forgot my disc.
Today
gotta-
felt like a walk in the
I
park.
got to make a special shout out
Yesterday.
to my man Steve Rowland. Hitting
Stogie
the ace,
Steve.
Stogie
Golf
Steve.
snaps for Stogie
Hitting the
Steve.
ace on hole 16, advanced cane.
Check your PayPal if you haven't.
Yeah.
Yep. Got some
reward.
money.
That's we're in the pro field. We're 2 for 2 with aces at events. Logan got entered 2 on E1. So
The year of the ace is upon us.
Ogwood is next. Any predictions on
Somebody's getting
which
hole 1.
holes will be
Somebody
ace?
is getting hole 1.
13's always a contender. 15 is in there.
2?
2.
Yeah.
2 for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of really
There are a lot
aceable
of-
holes out there. But that's the
I'm
thing
gonna
is
say it's,
all of those
hole
aceable
17.
holes that are well within range, you get a couple degrees off. Well, all of a sudden you're either in a barn and you're not supposed to be, or you're not in the barn
Yeah.
and you are supposed to be,
Yeah.
or you're in a cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, have you guys been out there lately?
No,
No.
I was just out there Saturday, and a sinkhole, another one that I had noticed beginning to
Another
form,
one.
is much larger now.
Whoa. Well, there's a lot of rain this past
So in
week.
the back field, you know the little road bed that goes along the left side of the property to get back to the woods. There was a little one right next to that road bed, like right on the edge of it. Now there's like a building worth of cinder blocks sitting in there.
Is the neighbor tunneling under his property or something?
I was going to say,
or
hopefully
what?
that sinkhole expands
Dude,
onto his land.
It's China. They're right under us.
Oh.
No, that whole
Bro, you
area
gotta say
is an
China like this,
aquifer.
okay?
There's
China.
China.
It's the China virus.
China.
It's underneath the ground.
And Agua. Okay.
Take it from me.
All right.
no, but yeah, there's like a huge underground lake underneath all of northern Tennessee and southern Kentucky. It's all just that's why there's so many
I just
sinkholes.
got educated.
Yeah. Same.
And so many caves. Mammoth Cave.
And there's that's where the reptile people.
They live.
That's where they live. There's the whole Earth within the Earth.
Ninja Turtles?
Aliens.
The Ninja
Hollow
Turtles?
Earth.
I'm not saying it was aliens, bro, but it's the aliens.
Mole people.
I wish
as
I had
well,
real spiky
or-
hair.
Oh, yeah. When aliens come around, my hair just stands up by itself.
All I know is
Hey, I'm
aliens,
keeping
bro.
you with me wherever I go.
Right.
Yeah, smart move.
No reptiles on me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, creepy little fellers.
Yeah, they are creepy. Scaly. They look oily, moist.
I'd like
But
to.
they're not.
Pineapple.
Another shout out.
What is the deal with that?
What is the deal with people not being able to log into you?
Boy's got another shout out.
Hey, you know what's funny? I'm gonna make a video for that.
How to log into you?
How to log in?
We do
I've
need that.
already,
Yeah.
I've already got the pre.
This is gonna go viral.
Yeah, he sent me
I'd
the rough
see this.
draft.
First, buy a smartphone.
No
Charge it
comment
up.
there. No comment.
Get a phone plan.
Yeah.
Man, the never-ending story of trying to get people to use UDisc.
It's
But
so simple.
the best.
No, the best is the never-ending stories of why they can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get better
Yeah,
every
the
time.
excuses.
I did a
We
pretty
need
good
to start
impression
writing.
of Anthony Sinclair on the last episode. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys want to go back and watch. It was pretty spot on, I think.
Yeah.
It kind of slipped under there, and nobody really drew attention to it. And I felt, I don't know, maybe
Obligated.
kind of slighted about that because I felt like I put a lot of effort into that Anthony Sinclair impression, and I feel like I really nailed it.
You know, I thought it was really funny when I said Florida State Seminole vesicles, and you guys didn't laugh. So,
Well, I didn't even hear that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wish
But
I
a
would have
pretty
heard it
quote. Yeah.
reaction cam.
off the podcast.
But shout out to MVP of yesterday was Marcus Rogers and his beef jerky sales.
Bro, we are like almost out of beef jerky.
That was the
Watch out.
He was selling jerky to like
Strangers.
casual people walking through the park.
He was taking a big risk.
I think one of the maintenance guys.
Jay
like,
pulled
came
in
out
a
of the
homeless
maintenance
person and
shed.
made him a volunteer
That's
spotter.
right. You know what I mean? If you're gonna be up here, let me trust you.
Anyone who walked up, I'm like, hey man, what's up with this?
Hey
Yeah,
man, you
disc
want a
golf
shirt?
training.
You want lunch?
Yeah,
watch,
bro.
watch that basket right there.
Go start over at Whole 10. Yeah, just walk over there. Hey,
Yeah.
on the way. Hey, you want some jerky?
Yeah, Double G Jerky.
Yeah.
Double G Children's
We got
Foundation.
garlic. We
As
got
soon as I was like, yeah,
for that
that was
sponsorship.
it. That was
the
it.
garlic's gone. So
I was
I'm
like, do you
assuming
want the spicy or the
you're
garlic?
pressing the garlic.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
literally, no joke, literally, that's
You go,
life-saving beef jerky right there.
And
I know
there's
of at
two
least
kinds.
one life. No joke.
saved.
That beef word salad. I know of at least one life that jerky has saved. Waynard, MCO 2018, Ravenwood.
Oh,
The grill had just shut down on day 3, and
yeah.
all 3 days we'd had hot, fresh food pumping out on that grill. Final day, everybody's showing up at Ravenwood, run out of food. And then I'm up by the RV talking to J Ray, and I just hear this blood-curdling scream. No! And I look down the hill, and Waynard is down there laying on his belly with his golf bag hanging behind him, and he's reaching for the closed grill. Hammered drunk.
Of course.
Obviously needed some food in his
Yeah.
in the belly. But I was like, Waynard! He looked up at me and was like, Garrett's got jerky. And he goes, oh? Garrett's like, yeah, come on, man.
yeah.
And hey,
Saved the day.
shout out to Double G because the jerky's freaking fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good jerky.
Should we all try some jerky right now?
And
We should.
proceeds
Let's
go
have
to
a
the
piece.
Double G Children's Foundation. I thought you were going to tell a story of a life saved by the Double G Children's Foundation.
Oh.
I didn't know about the
Oh, that's the thing.
Understand, Garrett, love the kids.
proceeds. Some of the proceeds from the Double G Jerky go to the Double G Children's Foundation, and so you're actually supporting
Double G's kids.
Double G Children's Foundation. So
Well, that's
buy
novel.
some jerky at the next event. Tell your friends.
Yeah, and that's super cool. Shout out to Double G too, because now you're starting to see this stuff at tournaments in
It's-
stores. That's really
It had
cool.
a commercial on Disc Golf Network.
yeah.
It's
Oh, I can smell it.
yeah.
Sinuses are
garlic.
clearing up.
And
He needs
yeah,
some
it's
else.
fire jerky.
I'm taking this whole
Garrett.
piece for myself. He needs
We
it.
appreciate the fact that you love the kids.
Oh, I'm trying to quit.
And,
Trying to quit. Okay.
And you can see
we're
it's
gonna
got a
be ordering
nice
some more from you because we're about out. Marcus did
it's got a nice patina.
I was
I
literally
will
eating
say
that
it's-
on the way here,
Gene,
though.
I mean,
Yeah.
just to have it there before an event in general, for when people are like, oh, I forgot to go to the gas station, I was running late. Like, all right, well, here you go, bro. Pack
Oh,
of
boy.
jerky, get you through your round.
Podcast
You can
faux,
sell the girls
faux
or
pas.
guys, kids.
Eating in the in the
Yeah,
microphone.
sorry about the smacking, but
No,
man,
it's
this
not.
garlic is
It's
delightful.
so good. No, it's so good. Oh.
Misophonia. Yeah. What were we talking about that about?
I don't. Oh, the worst sound in the world. The putter.
Yeah,
hitting
Justin
the
brings up a good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Misophonia, the worst sound in the world.
That sound okay.
well.
Hitting the top of the basket,
Yeah.
and everybody knows that sound.
Yes.
And that's the cool thing about at the bag tag having so many people on the course. Everywhere you look, people were playing, and some people were hitting some awesome putts, and some people were hitting the top band. Some people were rolling
Are you
in the
making a
creek.
reference to somebody's putts? Are you saying something, Jorge?
Did you miss any putts yesterday?
I missed.
Jay was smoking them from circle 2, right and left, man. He was running them down.
No.
Just couldn't get off the tee pad for crap.
I thought you might have been referencing our rollaway pattern
Oh no, that's here.
because it was like
Nah,
dong.
I mean, we had
Dong.
fighter jets scrambling
Don't
in the
start
background.
that again.
There
Yeah,
was
we-
explosion.
we
There
did
were
have
fighter
RC,
jets in the
we had-
background.
we
You
had
know that
Model
model
airplanes.
airplanes. One
dude.
time I was playing around out there, and one literally crashed on the hole 13.
what?
Like, I kid you not. Yeah, I have no clue who I was with, but hopefully they're listening to the podcast and they can remind me. But yeah, we were literally playing, and
Yeah.
I throw my shot and I turn around. I'm like, oh, I wish that was so much better.
And you're like, that guy's out 1,000.
He's having a worse day than me.
He blew up my disc, and now it's closer to the basket.
Oh yeah. And those model planes are huge.
Can I get a
Yeah.
rolling?
Massive.
Yeah, exactly.
I could not
It's
believe
wherever
how
the
big
largest,
If that
largest
plane
piece
had
of
hit me,
shrapnel.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Even some of the
If
shrapnel
it would have
hit
hit
me.
you, we would have had the Marcus Rogers Foundation already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The MRF.
Or
We'd
at
be
least- or at
selling-
least
We're
We're
taking it
Memorial.
would be the Marcus Rogers Metro Nashville Parks Association.
Presented by King Rich.
It's now Marcus Ridge, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Marcus Ridgers.
He just rides around in a convertible waving to everybody.
Right,
It's just like the mayor of
Man, he
mayor of
looked-
Metro
he looked
Parks.
Can it be like
Apart.
like a golf cart convertible? Yeah.
You looked the
With
part
clear
yesterday
plexiglass
too with your
rims on it.
Sherpa coat and your scarf. And
Most Fly.
Look like
that's-
Shaq or something in
Yeah.
that bad boy. You know.
Most Fly
Pope-mobile.
TD.
Most Fly TD.
Marcus had a light blue
Tommy
blazer
Hilfiger.
on. Tommy Hilfiger. Not to name drop,
Yeah,
but damn, it's
yeah,
Hilfiger,
just
folks.
throwing that out there.
Yeah, with the coat.
And the Titans scarf.
Titans scarf.
This man knows
that
a thing
was-
about being cool.
Hey man, I got to make that bag tag classy.
That's
Hey,
right.
keep
Hey,
it classy,
I just want to say,
San Diego.
Tony Cisco, you're complaining to me about Doug sending us long emails while you're busy at work working for him. Well, hey, I'm busy at work working for free, and you're texting me during the podcast. So,
Heads
What's
up.
he texting about? Should we answer it? No.
no, he was asking me because Doug sent out TD emails for DDO today. So it was like, there's some stuff I got to respond to, but it's podcast day. I'm busy, man.
Just
Yeah.
call him.
Come on, podcast.
Call him.
Mondays.
Put him on the podcast.
How weird is that? I'm at a point in my life where Doug Bjerkus is sending me emails and asking me for information, and I'm like, well, Doug can wait. It's podcast day.
Today it's
No.
Jonathan Poole. He's at the top.
Just kidding.
Cutting it close.
I'm just borrowing Doug to polish myself a little bit there. Hey, look
Name
at the
dropping.
shine. Look at the shine. No, what up, Dougie Fresh?
Hashtag
Hey,
name drop.
Dougie
Congrats on the new
Fresh.
grandchild.
Yep.
Do the
Once again.
Come
Yep.
on, you didn't do the Dougie Fresh.
Do the
Fresh.
Dougie.
What is the Dougie Fresh?
Oh, he said do the Dougie. Ooh,
Yep.
you went old school there.
Dougie Fresh. Pretty fresh.
All the ladies love it.
Yep.
All the ladies love it.
I'm super excited.
I don't
to
think
see
anybody
Dougie
When I'm
Fresh.
remembers that.
messing with my
Really.
Dougie.
Just to be honest, nobody.
It was a
remembers
very
that.
quick
Do
fad.
the Dougie.
About
Do the
7 weeks, man. 7
7 weeks.
We're going to Emporia, the motherland.
Oh, we're taking the remote setup, sir.
I don't know. Are you a part of the we?
No, that's you. That's why I'm asking
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys if you're taking it so I can zoom in. Me and Marcus can zoom in.
We might take the Yeti. Yeah,
You should.
probably take the Yeti. Do a little hotel
Impromptu?
podding. Yeah, a little hotel podcasting. We did that once or twice, and that's how we have a new Yeti microphone now. Because I got real angry at that microphone and smacked the ever loving shit out of it.
Oh, I thought the cord broke.
I
but
do remember that.
That's what
I think the cord broke because he smacked it.
It was-
now the truth comes out.
A disc. We were podcasting
Hey,
from Country
you know what?
Club, and a
I'm not
disc-
the only person that's
disc hit
done.
it. A
I'm
disc
not
hit
the
it.
only person that's done regrettable, embarrassing things in Emporia, Kansas. Jay.
What? Maybe.
Exclusive.
What up with the drops,
maybe-
Marcus?
that-
What happened to
that
those
is very
drops?
true.
After
But
hours,
just
Yeah,
like in
After
Vegas,
hours
the
show.
things that
Golf
happen in
after
Emporia sometimes stay there.
DGAD.
Yeah, any
Disc
of you
golf
guys ever
after
see me
dark.
on the course and Jay's not around? Come on up to me and I'll tell you that story. It's fine.
Yeah. It's a person. It's a
Hey, guys.
face-to-face story because
gotta
it's
call
not as
Pineapple
funny.
By the
on that
way,
story.
we're
It's
going to
funny
have to
unless
have a
you
test
get
day or
faced.
come here a little early for the next week's episode and find a spot that we can put that where not only is it in
Absolutely.
frame for the camera, but you can also see the
color.
colors.
What do you think that is? Just the
It's
light
the
itself?
light because we have white fluorescent light shining right on it.
Isn't it so much better than that yellow light that comes with bulbs a lot of times?
It is. I mean, it can get a little bothersome. Bothersome sounds like a word. I'll take that one.
Oh yeah, that sounded good to me. Holder dash.
Nope.
Oh my, he's broken out the soundboard.
Just check with the TD. He says that's OB.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gonna have to take a stroke. Go on back.
I often wonder
Bring
why
it
there's
back.
arguments over OB because the rules clearly state if there's a question, it goes to the player, but yet we still see arguments.
Well, what if you're questioning it?
No, it's
incorrectly?
not. That's also a misleading way to frame it. It's if
Lawyer
it's
talk.
too close to call.
Yeah, but decision
if
can't be
everybody
made.
in the group agrees it's too close to call, if
Then it
nobody
goes,
in the group
okay.
can make a decision,
Yeah.
then the benefit goes to the player. It's not if it's a question. Basically, you should not proceed. Boom! I love this guy. You should not proceed to the next hole if there's any kind of dispute or lack of clarity about what just happened. You know,
Absolutely.
and that's where you've seen all these dramatic moments in coverage at these big tournaments that the internet talks about for 6 weeks at a time exclusively is when one person is disagreeing with how the group is carding the play on the hole and proceeding on, and they're at the next tee pad, and one person is still saying, excuse me, no.
Right.
We need to resolve this here.
Yeah, then it becomes a thing where now something that could have been handled among that group of people, aka why disc golf is self-policing, has now become a global topic of
Phenomenon.
conversation.
And if you really can't decide, provisional, folks. You can't take a picture, you can't take a video. Provisional. Play it both ways. Talk to the official after.
Yep.
And
Should I bring up my experience?
Yes, you should.
Rocky
Bring
yes,
it up.
Mountain?
yes. We always
Give us your experience.
rules are best highlighted by play that
Examples.
you've actually experienced. So
Truth, with some hashtags on it. You know, I can put that
next
in.
up in disc golf rules with Marcus Rogers.
It
All
doesn't.
right,
in
so
studio.
so we're playing Rockland Dam, par 4 uphill, and one of the players on my team, on my card, we're getting ready to do a putt, and there was a sign that said "next tee to your left," pointing to the left, and his mini was right beside the sign. So he proceeds to ask everyone at the same time, like picking up the sign, essentially, "Hey, can I move this sign
No, you may not.
and putt out?" So he at that point he literally had the sign in his hand. I'm like, I don't think you can
Hey,
move
can I move
that.
this? He's already got it in his hand.
It's
So-
dead.
So
dead.
yeah, right. It's not. It's
It is not breathing. I asked it 7 questions
So-
and it did not respond to but 2 of them.
we all disagreed that he couldn't move the sign, so he put it back, and then he proceeds to putt. And then at that point, you can tell that the sign is nowhere near his leg, which is why he asked the question to begin with. Like, hey, why do you ask to move a sign unless the sign is clearly in your way? So the guy proceeds to make his putt, and we're like, hey, bro, you moved the sign. And not only did you move the sign, you moved it well out of your way to where your putt
He didn't put it back where it
it
was.
was exactly where it
originally.
was.
Yeah.
So at that point, that's when the discussion started. Hey,
How
we're
was it
gonna have
resolved?
to we're gonna have to stroke you for this because you literally changed something on the course.
No, it's a. I'm glad you did it because we've talked about that before.
Hey, I stroked
The-
myself yesterday.
Most people
after the round, during the round.
Oh,
It was,
nice.
it was,
Pineapple.
it was,
Pineapple.
it was in between holes
but
10 and 11
it
after that
takes-
fastest putt
I
ever
don't
on
like-
record.
All right,
the radar gun on that one,
a little
boys.
premature on there.
all right, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
Anyway.
Sorry. It's funny because this is the first
I
part of the
digress.
podcast.
It's funny because it's
But it's the second, too.
Yeah.
It's the first
Yeah.
sentence.
So
Any
how
hoot
was
and
the what was the resolution of the
Well, I don't even know what I was saying, Marcus.
Well, we ended up having to give him a stroke for the moving on the sign.
Oh, I was
What
giving you
had
props
happened
for
was-
calling him because
Yeah.
even I don't like even calling time for somebody when they lose a disc or something like
Yeah.
this.
Right.
And a lot of golfers, like I said, that's one of the main reasons they don't say anything is because it creates that confrontation. So props to you for handling.
We
how
gotta
you
be-
So I'm
used
glad
it.
you brought up the confrontation part because that was definitely for the next 20 minutes. It's the only conversation we had was talking about what had just happened, and what really sucked about that was I was 5 down going into that hole,
Oh no!
and I finished
got
around
tense.
even because we had to talk about
That whole
Yeah.
time.
that thing for the next 20
gets
some
in your
odd
head.
minutes, and it's when I was the person who actually brought it up, hey man, hey, we got to talk about this because it's clear as day that your leg was
Yeah.
not anywhere near the sign after you moved the sign. Before when you moved the sign, it was obvious that the sign was impeding or in the way of you making your putt, and it really felt uncomfortable to me, so I had to bring it up. And then I'm the guy that's everybody's looking at that point and okay, are we going to agree with Marcus? Are we going to talk about
Yeah.
this? I'm like, hey, we got to talk about this because I did take the official exam
Very
really,
recently.
really recently. And you got DJ Wicks there, and with DJ's there, he's also big as far as rules. And I felt uncomfortable, and then for the rest of the round, I just really didn't feel like I did the first 10 holes we got into it. And the rules are rules, and you got to follow the rules. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I wish I could get myself out of this situation so I can
Enforcing
back to
of the
playing golf
rules
the
is-
way I
Golf
want
snaps
to.
to you, Marcus, for being willing to actually have the conversation, because that's another thing that contributes to all of these disputes and this. Everybody, it's this argument about the outcome of every major tournament because you see this moment, where it could have gone a different way and everybody's got an opinion about it. But that it could all be solved if people weren't so scared to talk about it. Like, and that's the thing is like nobody wants to call their friend on a foot fault.
Right.
And nobody wants to be called on a foot fault. But hey, don't foot fault.
Don't step on
Yeah.
your disc.
Like, I mean, that's
the
the way.
rule, yeah.
That's the way things go, man. When you're running and you're throwing and you're spinning and you're pivoting and you're trying to fit your foot in this big complex chain of movements involving your entire body in a pretty significant space.
Yeah.
You know, and you're trying to end up with a small part of you in one small space. I
Right.
mean, dude, you're not going to hit it 100% of the time. But if there's a rule that says you have to, and you see somebody do it, we all need to make that decision that we're adult enough to both make the call and to have the call made on us.
Yeah.
And that needs to be established within the culture of disc golf. It needs to not be such a thing where people are pussyfooting around each other and not saying what things are.
Well, you
know?
make a good point because if it was more of a norm, it wouldn't be so confrontational. It would be a little bit easier for people to, it's just a norm, and people just blow it off nonchalantly. But
So would it be
make a good point
norm if we, I guess, watched every single shot every time
Well,
and like
that's-
made? Let me like and
Go
made
ahead.
for sure that like every shot was like perfect. Like okay, like so saying that no one can play a complete clean round by saying like every person makes a mistake, so every card would have at least one mistake.
sure, absolutely. I mean, it can be as small as approaching your disc the wrong way. Do you know that you're not supposed to enter into the woods in front of your disc in the path of its line? You're literally supposed to come from behind it, because if you enter going straight into the woods, you clear all the brush going through that disc by you walking towards
Well,
it.
it's written in a lawyer speak way where you must take your lie with the least amount of change to your surroundings.
Yeah.
I forgot how they phrase it,
Yeah,
but it's that's a tough like.
It is tough.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what you should do, but the interpretation sometimes.
Or
Well,
like how many
because you
people
don't know,
you see
you don't know someone's
throwing
intention when
from
they're
the
walking
woods.
up to the
Right.
walking up to their lie,
I
and just
never
like
do.
what you said right there, like if someone's walking up to their lie from the direction of the basket toward their disc and their mini at that point, then they could easily be moving something out of the way on the way to it.
Yep.
So I totally understand that because you don't know the person's intentions.
And what if somebody
well,
saw
here's-
their disc and they were like, "Oh, I'm just looking for my disc," and they walk like right in front of a branch and step on it, or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Well, the other part of it too is like how many people, if the guy's off in the woods, how many people go into the woods to make sure he's not leaning on something,
Right.
or make sure he's not supporting himself with
Push
another
very
foot.
true.
something out of his
You know what I
way.
mean?
Yeah.
Or if his foot's even in the right spot, because I'm pretty sure like you see guys get in the woods and then you're like, how did you get that? Based
Yeah.
upon where your disc was,
Yeah.
but you don't have any proof, or you certainly weren't back there to see. But like maybe his foot was, a foot off from his marker. You couldn't tell it, and so he flicks out and he had an open line. But as where if he'd have been on his marker,
On
they
his
wouldn't-
marker, he wouldn't be able,
wouldn't be able to do that.
obtain that line. Yep.
So, but that's the other thing. Nobody's crawling in the thicket when you go off in the thicket. Nobody's getting in there with you to check
Well,
your
see, yeah. Well, so
verify
when you're off
anything.
in
I'm
the
like,
thick,
I'm not
man,
going in
people
there.
are like they're feeling sorry for you at that point. Like, oh man, he's off in the woods. I'm not even gonna go take a look.
So,
You know.
Well, it's funny because you talk about Will made a good point, or maybe it was, I can't remember. I know it's weird. I forgot already.
See what that stuff
but you made
does
a
to
good
you, man?
point. You made a good point that every round there's going to be a mistake,
Yep. Yep.
and that it's going to happen to everybody. And you have to understand that like there's no solving that unless, and this is where Ken Climo and Barry Schultz, when I talked to them one time about this, they made a very good point. We shouldn't allow any type of step or run up on any shot other than a drive. And that eliminates the foot fault because you're not allowed to take a step.
It
and
eliminates follow through too.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
in
what
some
are you
cases,
going to do on a
1,000-foot
1,000
holes.
foot? Yeah, that's
Well,
exactly what I
that's
was going to say.
The point they were trying to make was unless you do that, you're going to have that variance
Yeah. True.
always.
True.
But they gave you a much bigger like lie. They changed the definition. It's like the size of this computer, like a piece of paper behind your
Essentially,
lie.
yeah.
College rule or wide rule?
Both.
What a
College rule or wide rule paper here, people. We're talking graph.
word salad.
Real wide rule, boy.
Read between the lines.
Yeah.
That's right.
Gosh, here we go.
It's
again.
It's a 20 by 30 centimeter.
20 by 30 centimeter.
It's a sheet of paper,
Point
basically.
six.
Sheet of paper.
I'll take some of that 20 by 30 centimeter paper.
That heavy stock.
I'm just going to start bringing a piece of paper and a mini every time
I actually have a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
Of course
that's
you do.
actually cut to the exact specifications that
I was there while he was
I
measuring.
can't
it.
wait to teach. I need to do maybe a Dr. Details rule segment.
You do. You need to.
Where it's like it's not a clinic of like how to throw far, how to do anything with throws.
It's how to
like
exist. with
how
Dr.
to
Boy.
examine
Just a tip.
the lie.
Yeah.
How to examine the lie.
New
You're
segment
gonna want first
coming
put on
soon.
latex
I
gloves.
get my
You're
stethoscope.
definitely gonna get a latex glove.
Yeah,
Stethoscope.
yeah. Listen to the lie. Smell the lie.
Feel
Think
the
about
lie.
Be the
Be
lie.
the
Yeah, that was all fucking covered. We could have did it all at the same time.
Yeah.
To be fair. Oh, you
That's
guys
the
left me
secret,
hanging,
guys. There
man.
you have
I
it.
guess
No
we only
clue
get
what's
one
going on.
every episode. I guess that's the rule on that.
But I have yeah, it's like a details, but then I'm like it's only a certain, I guess, because you don't want to have that at a beginner's clinic and like, man, this crazy guy with all the plastic lies, they like telling us teaching the rules.
Somebody
It seems
came
like
out
this
of
is
the
an
woods with a
intimidating.
plastic piece of paper.
This is why we call him Dr. Details.
I am totally picturing like a Bill
Yeah.
Nye the Science Guy type show with you and props at a table with like a lab coat on, and
You
you're
see
like,
how you marked this as a slightly incorrect.
Well, actually,
Doctor
um,
detailed.
one thing.
on
One thing.
ESPN.
Okay, if you want to nerd out for a second, one thing I have in my bag is actually a tape measure, because the 1 meter in from out of bounds is a lot longer than people usually mark.
Yeah. 'cause
Like
we all
even
have
three
the same
step,
feet.
even three of
Yeah.
your steps, it's longer. So
How
it's,
many
Right.
feet is a meter exactly? What, like to a T?
3 point.
1
Yeah,
centimeter.
I think it's really good as far as like keeping a tape measure on you. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Is it metric?
can you hear me? Am I
Make sure
Yeah,
you're
you,
right.
coming
we hear
in?
you.
Coming in clear? Coming. Hello.
guess I can,
Check.
yeah.
Check.
We're good.
Am I?
No, you're perfectly
Thing
fine.
live?
Continue.
Also, my mic.
don't mind us, Dr. Hoy.
With the tape measure is not. I don't measure it during the rounds, but like if you're trying to teach somebody, like I like to tell people, walk what you think a meter in is, and then measure it and see if it's a meter, and it's usually much further in because you can't be touching out of bounds like when you throw.
Right.
And so that's why you have to have a meter in, and so some people are still have their
Up
foot
to
on
a
the
meter.
ground.
Because you don't have to take the full
You don't have
relief.
to take the full relief. That's true.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, 6 inches could change your. I mean, 6 or.
What we can do is like
6 inches should definitely change things.
we can put a mark on our foot with a
Pineapple.
marker.
Talk about big when you're
Hey,
stuck
man,
in the
we're
woods.
talking about disc golf.
It's a game of numbers.
Go ahead, Marcus.
I'm great right now. I'm so happy.
Hey, I had
I'm good on that one.
shout out to this guy in Rochester, New York, that we had this series match play, and he had a stopwatch, and it was only me and him on this course on like a Tuesday at 2
You were
p.m.
on there.
And he was clocking me for 30 seconds each shot.
Damn.
I mean,
he
I
clock
crushed
himself?
him. Well, it was over after 12 holes.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I was like, you don't have. It's okay, man. You don't have to like stopwatch 30 seconds. But he was out there. It was only me and him, and so it wasn't a
No
matter
way.
of like timing a big busy tournament or anything. It was-
Go ahead, call
Did you
me, bro.
intentionally,
You got a
like, wait
second?
till, like second 28.
But the first shot, I like stepping up to my lie, and he's like,
you hear beep.
no, I'm
Man.
talking about like old school 60 minutes.
Oh wow.
Your shot is ready.
That reminds me. You said I still crushed him. That reminded me of Jeff Lorenz. I was talking to him right after we started doing some fundraising for Tennessee School for the Blind, and he was telling me how when he was in high school, he was on the wrestling team, and they used to wrestle against TSB.
Oh.
And he was telling me how weird it was wrestling against the blind kids because they had to keep. They do it totally differently now, but I guess back then they had it where the blind kid had to have their hand on your shoulder the entire time throughout the match.
Oh.
And I was like, well, that seems like kind of like unfair almost. Like they can always tell exactly where you are and where you're about to go. And he was like, yeah, it totally was unfair. But then if you say anything about it, it made you look like a certain. And he was like, and then I was like, man, that's just, kind of conversation stills. And he goes, I still pin their asses. And then we laughed and then whatever. And then it gets quiet again. And he goes, and then I got real close and I said, bet you didn't see that coming.
Oh, canceled.
Now, for clarity, I'm sure he didn't actually do that,
Yeah,
but
it
in that
was
moment
very,
when it
very
was just
funny.
me and my friend Jeff talking, that was
Shout
just
out-
about the funniest thing I heard all day.
Shout out to 2020 MCD charity, Tennessee School for the Blind.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a podcast. That excuses everything. No.
Exactly.
No, but it's funny. And that's the thing, dude. And for everybody watching and listening, and
We tell stories here.
yeah, we tell jokes and we make light of things because I'm going to break it to you folks.
We're human.
This is how life works. If you lose your ability to make fun of the shitty things in life, you are giving them more power over you and your life.
My dad always told me if you lose the ability to feel pain, you lose the ability to learn. So, but I like yours much better.
Well, it's just about being able to laugh, man. I mean, don't take yourself and everything so seriously because it's all about perspective. Everybody's got different stuff, but the same stuff. You know what I mean? We're all going through and experiencing the same thing in different ways and because of different sets of circumstances. So,
You can't
I
take life
digress.
too seriously. You never make it out alive.
laugh a little bit, guys.
I love that.
You know, we
What is
talk-
that from?
Yeah.
By the
I
way,
have no idea.
I forget what that's from.
just
But that's
good.
one of my favorite lines.
I just came up with it. That's what it
Coin,
was.
yeah.
Oh, it's a quote in a movie.
Yeah.
By the way,
But we talked about this last episode when we were
Van-
talking about Tennessee State doubles championship.
Van Wilder.
And it's like the conversation starts about one thing, and then next thing you know, somebody is trying to make an illustration or an example or something, and they use some off-color language that's no longer politically correct, and now all of a sudden there's a riot going on. There's a mob trying
Somebody
to
dies
light
or
that
gets
person
hurt.
on fire, and dude, and then that person, is singled out and made to look a certain way, and it's human. These are all, like, to put it in a Roganism, this is mouth sounds. It's just sounds we're making with our mouths to express a feeling or a thought or a concept. Don't hang up on the sound. Like, context and what the subject matter is important, and intent. Yeah, there is intent. What is the intent behind the word? Right. That's the important thing. I want to know what you actually think and feel. I'm not looking for an excuse to call you something and put you in a box and make you like a part of some other group. That's where we lose our humanity.
yeah. Well, on the other side of that, don't be a pussy.
Exactly. Pretty much is the main
That's the
bullet
way I look
point
at it.
of this presentation. Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
no, I mean, honestly, like, but see, that's a thing though. Is
I
It's
feel
just
that way.
mouth
Truly.
sounds.
the polar opposites
That's right.
the polar opposites of
mouth
the
sounds.
spectrum between me and Jay is making another illustration here though. Is that it's like, one, don't be so sensitive and take everything so seriously, but two, have a little regard for the feelings of others, man.
Right.
Like in anything you do, whether it's talking or your actions, before you make a move, think about how it might affect somebody else. Or if there's somebody readily apparent that it is going to affect, take a second to think about maybe what if you were that person and they were in your shoes and what you're about to do was being done to you. Like, how would you feel? I mean, if you can really genuinely do that in everyday interactions, you really start to become compassionate towards other people because you start thinking about people in terms of people that you can relate to. Like, you wouldn't want somebody making your wife feel like shit, or your mom, or your or just anybody that you care about.
Sure.
Just because you don't know this person, just
But that might make people change, and we wouldn't want that in this world, would we?
no. We should all be changing.
hell
That's the
yeah.
thing, man. We should all be changing, and everybody should be doing it intentionally. We should be. That's the
Absolutely.
thing. Everything will change. Not everything grows. You know what I mean? You're either growing or you're dying, but everything will change. And if you are not becoming a more complete version of yourself by the things that you are experiencing, there's no point. And if you're not able to have a little fun with it along the way, there's no point. It's like saying with a bag tag, with bag tags in disc golf. There's two things that can ruin it. One, somebody not playing by the rules. Two, somebody taking it too damn seriously.
Good point.
Wow, rant over. Go on.
No.
Three, somebody walking in front of a putt.
Twice.
Hush. I hope he still plays disc golf after that.
Not till next month.
Nice.
Hey, actually,
But
speaking
you're
of
100% accurate and 100% correct. And I think you made the word you said in that whole thing, and I cannot agree with you more, is having some compassion for other people and just taking it, a half of a millisecond to think about that, because our brains work really quick. It won't take you that long, and it's certainly not hard, but it's hard for you to cognitively stop yourself and do so. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people struggle with that, but they're in making yourself better. I mean, with practice comes somewhat perfection anyway.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the goal? to be a better you.
At least
I mean,
it should be.
Always. Yes, it should always be that.
Well, you're going to end up at a point in your life where one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to be at the later part of your life and look back on the path that you've walked and be really happy with it and proud of it and know that you changed some things for the good and that the world that you walked into was worse off than the world that you're walking out of. You're either going to be one of those people or you're going to find yourself miserable and alone and realize that you have spent your entire life slowly becoming an asshole. And that's what happens if you don't pay attention. You know, if you're not doing things like putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, you're going to slowly turn into an asshole. And that's just the way it works, man. I mean, like this world, you look at kids, everything is magical to a kid. Everything is hunky-dory. The world is awesome. They're super excited. They run everywhere.
Assuming they have good parents.
By the time you hit 30, man, it's like, well, you know, you're just plugging along. You're going to work. You're coming home. You're doing what you got to do.
You're routining.
Yeah, you're existing. And at somewhere along the line, the magic goes away. And that's what happens if you're not paying attention. You lose the magic.
Absolutely.
And nothing is special. Nothing is sacred anymore. And doing things like putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, those are the kinds of limited, minor, daily rituals that you can do that over 50 years of existence, you're going to find that you are a more complete human being and the people that are in your life and around you genuinely enjoy being there.
Boom. I would like to only add, do what's hard, not what's easy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, doing that, but putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and thinking from another perspective, it's not easy.
No.
You know,
Right, it's easy to say, easy to comprehend, but it's hard to follow.
It's easy to get to the end of your
Boom,
life and realize you're an
shakalaka.
asshole. It's easy to do. You know, it's harder to take a second every day and look at how you're changing. Are you growing or are you dying?
Yeah, reflect. That's it.
Yep. But on to disc golf.
Yeah.
Well,
I think you
disc
could take
golf-
that to disc golf.
can help find some of that magic. I
Well,
mean,
exactly. I mean,
like yesterday was a perfect example. It was a beautiful day outside. There were some good shots, no matter how much the video says otherwise. There were some shots that we wanted it to go a certain way. We threw it. It went that way. And it's always exciting to see that.
You speak
and
for
there were
yourself on that.
Yeah,
some
shout out
strong
Michael
putts.
Holland because he got
dude.
Michael,
he got
what
two
about
on
Mike?
like 6.
Yeah, he
five,
got a 2 on hole 6 at Cane
Yeah.
Ridge, which is very difficult.
That
Cane
was
Ridge
very
advanced,
long
and he threw a
forehand
zone
putt.
in, just like
Yeah.
it was pretty sweet. So
Well, that's about it, guys. We had the bag tag. We had Jonathan Poole once again. Thank you guys for putting up with us this long in our meandering conversations. Justin, thank you for being such a supporter of the show.
inviting
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Thanks for coming through.
And happy birthday once again.
Please subscribe to the show.
Yep.
please.
Tell it.
Share it.
Listen to this guy, man. He
Share
knows
some
what he's talking
Stickers
about.
now. We
Yeah,
got some
that's it.
stickers.
He's a
We got
professional.
You
pop
never know, man,
sockets
and you never know. Like we're saying, hey, because I'm gonna continue doing this. The biggest contributor to the show every month is gonna get something special, and Justin just got 2 months worth because he's the only one giving us money, and it sounds like we're asking.
What do you mean
for,
giving us money? Are you a Patreon?
No, he's PayPal'd us.
PayPal.
What?
So I just
Thank
got
you.
those stickers. You know what I mean? A lot of that was paid for by Justin. So
My boy.
This is the thing though. Is
I'm
it
here
sounds,
for you guys.
Yeah, it
I'm
sounds
here
like
for
we're
you.
saying, hey, please give us some money. Give us your money. Give us your money. But
We're asking for
Justin
your
just
support.
picked up like $50 worth of goods
Oh,
at the tournament yesterday, and he's giving us
I've
45.
been wanting a sapphire.
No,
Yeah.
55. So I owe you 5.
Nice.
Hey, and
So
Dr.
yes,
saying,
please
listen
send
to
your
people
money.
who are
yeah,
smart
so
in
give
this
us your
world.
money. We'll give you stuff.
Yeah.
That's how this works. It's commerce.
Yeah.
It's capitalism.
I'm broke. If I'm winning, you guys are fucking up.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parental advisory. There it goes. It took a long
Oh,
time
no,
this
it's-
episode.
I made sure it came
It
on
was
after
up-
the
no,
break.
It didn't. It was up there.
I put it on.
been
I knew we
in
were
it.
going in the weeds.
No.
We were respectful and adult and behaved and on our P's and Q's for JP. Hey, see what I did there? P's and Q's for J and P.
Before we bounce,
Podcasting.
before we
He
bounce,
said letters.
do we have any big event going on this week? This weekend coming up? No big events. Nothing.
Big event. Disc appointments. Bag tag at Broken Still. Show up.
Boom.
Come out.
Watch
That
it.
is a big
there.
event.
Here we go.
That is a big event. Yep.
Tell us about this new
check
event
this
you have
out.
with the prototype. I got your invite from it today.
Yeah.
Tell us about that event you have going
Well,
on.
right now we're working on securing sponsorships, but May 22nd. Good Lord, I don't even know the name of this thing.
The prototype dress rehearsal 2.71895er.
Yeah, he got it.
Yep.
Gee willikers, Mr. Wilson.
I heard
gonna be the
Jason
bee's
say it
knees,
about
I know
3
that.
times, and I thought he was joking until I finally paid attention, and I was going,
No, he chose the name, so
It's a mouthful,
I kinda
but
like it.
yeah,
it's a good
you'll
one.
remember it or not.
Yeah.
so
that's
it's a
coming up.
prototype. So
So what's the deal behind it? What's the prototype part?
Well, I mean, everything else has been like a shotgun start, and we're trying to get like tee times to
Okay.
where we can get more people actually out onto the course
Okay.
to actually play and be able to participate. I mean, we've opened every field we could, so please sign up.
Yeah.
May 22nd, you said?
May 22nd. Yes.
It's starting to look like I might actually be free because, dude, I got to tell you guys something. Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Bring up the breaking news. Uh-oh.
I'm finally done with Stokely's audiobook.
Wait. How long did it take?
Every bit of 2.5 months.
Boom.
Well, that's just the mastering. We spent a month recording.
Yeah.
Thank you for the drops, Marcus.
you go.
See,
Yeah.
I feel so special. But yes, dude,
Hot
yeah,
ready.
every bit of 2 months. He left right before Christmas because he was in Gatlinburg for Christmas. And since he left, because we spent about a month in here just about every day recording, and then I've spent just about every day the last 2 months mastering it. And when I say mastering, and Scott was kind enough to talk about this on Smashbox a little bit about the process that we went through and give me a little bit of love on the show.
Painstaking.
And shout out to Terry and Johnny V too. I love those guys. But yeah, it was when I say mastering, what I mean is like you're talking about 39 chapters. Each chapter is anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes long reading time. And every spot where there was a heavy breath or a wetting of the lips,
Oh, LL Cool
moist,
J.
for your ears, ASMR on the last cash. No,
To be fair. That's good stuff. In case you don't know what that is, look that up. You'll enjoy
where
it.
was I going with this? No,
Audiobook.
yes, audiobook. But everywhere where there was one of those sounds, I had to find that spot, and I had to have room noise recorded as a sample from the microphone that he was on with all the settings exactly as they were when he was reading, and I had to record room noise. And then so every spot where there's one of those unnecessary noises, I have to set automation points to where this thing dips the volume all the way down, and then I have to lay the room noise over top of that and make sure it's timed appropriately, because if the automation points are off, you cut a word short or you catch the tail end of a lip smack. And so 39 chapters of that, plus liner notes.
You should
Better have a sensitive mouse.
Just beep it out.
And there's all kinds of audio engineers telling me right now that, and I'm so glad I can't hear them, but that there's easier ways to do it. Yeah, I don't trust robots, bro. I don't trust the machines. I don't want to be a battery.
Yeah.
Even though you're talking into a robot.
Shut up.
Well, this isn't a robot. That guy over there might be.
Shout out to Stokely. He won his event.
Yes.
Yeah, he did
They
win.
got him a
golf
win.
snaps.
Yeah.
Golf snaps for Stokely. Yeah, man, it's crazy. You know, and we were talking to JP earlier, which you guys will hear in just a minute, but talking about how crazy things can change in a span of time. You know, he started playing disc golf in 93. By 97, he was working for Innova. Now he's running the most prestigious event in the sport. And, you know, take me, I started playing in 2013. That was like 9 years ago. You tell the me from 5 years ago that one day I was just going to be chatting and texting on the phone with Scott Stokely and Doug Bjerkes and all these people that, you know, I would have, nah. But man, it's cool, you know, and that's kind of what we're here to do for you guys, is to provide documentation or paint a picture of how you can get involved in disc golf. Obviously, I knew pretty quick off the bat, I was in my mid to late 20s when I found disc golf, and I'm an old fat guy with old sports injuries. I'm not going to be a Paul Macbeth or an Ezra Aderhold or an Eagle. I'm not going to be one of these guys winning all these big events and becoming famous like that. But the first time I ran a tournament, I was like, I could figure this out. Mm-hmm. And that was where I knew I was going to make my spot. It was running tournaments and promoting. Yep. And And I got creative with it, and I figured out, and I'm still figuring it out. I'm still learning and trying new things. Look at this podcast, and I'm still trying new things with this, making new graphics and making up new segments, mining old episodes for new content.
Well, 20 years later, Jonathan's doing new stuff.
Exactly.
DGC.
Exactly.
It's constantly changing.
But this is how easy it is, guys. You say you're one of the new amateur players that's just recently joined Music City Disc Golf. Justin's a case in point here. And now he's sitting here on the podcast. But
show some love.
There's all kinds of ways that you can get plugged in, and it's as easy as showing up maybe 30 minutes before the event and asking the tournament director if there's anything you can do to help.
Conversation.
Become a recognizable face behind the table, where when you show up, the guys and girls that are running the event don't go, oh. They go, oh man, perfect timing.
Yeah.
This person's here. They're clutch.
Yeah.
We can get this done now. Yeah. Be that person. Make yourself invaluable, and there's no ceiling to how far you can go in this sport. It's the sport of disc golf is in this really unique spot right now where it's growing explosively, but it's still very young. And there's a lot of room for somebody with a good idea to get in and revolutionize things and make them a little bit of scratch while they're at it.
I feel we're right close to where the UFC was right before they did the FX deal, that actually really blew them up and got them on the mainstream. And they had coverage last year on network television and everything, which is great, but we have tournaments every weekend, right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, and that's new too, is that even smaller local regional stuff is filling up right and left. Look, E2 was yesterday, and this is an unsanctioned bag tag.
87
E2
people.
was yesterday. We got 50, 60 people signed up for E3 already.
82 when I signed up a second ago.
Oh, 82?
88.
Take care of me, bro. Don't leave me out in the cold.
It's going.
Yeah,
quick.
that's what
It
he
was
goes.
50 people
You better sign
2
up. I'm
hours
I'm on the
later.
board. If I don't get to play in it, that's not really cool.
There's always a season pass option. It's still open
Yeah.
if you want to guarantee your entry.
Season pass is there, baby.
And you get a free event.
Shout out to Julian Metter, who joined in the season pass at 11:43 p.m. the night before the tournament. But hey,
Solid.
That's good biz,
Yeah,
man.
if it comes to the
That's a
tournament.
worthwhile investment.
You can get
Now
some
he's
jerky
in.
while you're there too.
That stock is only going up.
Yeah.
I heard from good sources that even the pros are having difficulty because they're not used to it. They're not used to signing up immediately. They're used to waiting a little bit, seeing kind of how things go. But according to very good sources, apparently some of the pros have been on some wait lists, some of the bigger name pros, because they didn't get signed up. And they don't realize how fast everything is filling up nowadays.
Yeah.
So,
And it's just you're gonna see
gonna
more of the
continue.
same. I
so we need
Speaking
people
of
to step
opening
up.
tournaments, registration for Music City Open, where
Good call.
it's going live on March 22nd, Monday, March 22nd, noon Central Time.
Noon Central Time.
Noon Central Time. That's
Breaking news.
Perfect time for everybody.
Yep.
If you're at work, you're on lunch break.
Exclusive.
If you don't have a lunch break, take a 10-minute break and sign up. I don't know.
And to
You
clarify,
better figure it out. Go take a poop.
as
Figure
with
it
all
out.
national tour events, this is going to be tiered registration. So it's you know the drill by now. Just get on the disc
Tour,
golf
which
scene,
is the
check it
MPO
out.
and FPO.
Yeah, and then for the A tier, it's by pool, 3 days separated. Correct.
Is it A tier
Well,
and
no,
NT
it's
open
one
same day?
day. It's a staggered
1 day?
by 1 day.
Staggered
about
by 1
24
day.
hours.
That's fine,
The
yeah.
first are amateur women and juniors. The second are age-protected pros, and the third are the rest of the amateurs. And so, but each division is set. The number is set, so it's not going to affect how many people sign up one day versus the other. It's not going to affect the other pools and divisions. It's just going to make sure that if questions come up and we don't shut down DG scene, because we have the potential for 576 in the A tier and 184 in the NT for a grand total of, somebody add that up,
700.
About 72.
720.
Yeah. What time's the second round?
Wrong button.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. But yes, so good time to point out another good reason for doing this staggered out for the A tier is also so that when we get an early kind of a heads up look at which divisions are getting high demand, which are filling up, where we're going to have to pull spots from to add and supplement to other divisions as the event gets closer. And this is something that always happens is, we try to have a good estimate of roughly, based on the previous year's numbers, roughly how many people are going to sign up in each division, how big is this thing going to get. but it always changes, and then the more adjustments that you make closer to D-Day, the more ripple effects come from that. So we're trying to really tighten up on that and really stay according to plan. So staggering out the registration is going to help us have a little bit more of an idea of where the demand and supply is going to ebb and flow. But yeah, as of March 22nd, that's when things are going to start popping. And over the next week or so, you're going to, if you've played in last year's MCO, you will get an email. There will also be a Music City Open Facebook page that will become the central hub of information for the time being. But yeah, mark your calendars, March 22nd. If you are 1,000+ rated pro, you're going to want to be ready with those fingers. Those
we
clicker
love
fingers.
you, but there
Logan
will be a
Bowles.
penalty for withdrawing. Make sure you read the withdrawal policy.
Yes.
It's ironclad. You will, if you sign up today and get out tomorrow, you'll lose $10 immediately. So it's just make the commitment, be there, but know that if you withdraw and then there's certain penalties, I just want to make sure everybody, you have to answer a question that you've read the withdrawal policy. That's how.
Yes.
Because
And
we
it
got to
is
keep people serious
specifically
about
by the letter according to the PDGA's guidelines for withdrawals and refunds. And you cannot message one of us and ask us to pull you out of the event and give you a refund. You have to go through the registration page and use the link provided in the email that you get for confirmation when you register. That is the only way that you will receive any kind of a refund. And the closer the event gets, the smaller any possible refund will get. It's all on the PDGA website in their documentation on withdrawals and refunds.
And that's to keep it fair.
Yeah,
Because we got so many people, we can't make special requests. There will be no tea time requests. They're going to be random tea times. There's not going to be any, like, if you don't play the event, you don't get a competitor pack. Nobody can pick it up. Like, it's
the other thing, too.
We getting strict, fellas.
The other thing here, too, is
and ladies.
the opposite side of the coin. When we say make the commitment, you know, you're going to lose the $10. Also, this goes for waitlist too. I mean, bigger events like GBO and stuff have often been on a kind of an operational system where everybody signs up all at once because it fills and they don't know 100% whether or not they're going to be able to come. So that's still a worthwhile strategy. If you want to do that and sign up just to guarantee your spot until you get your ducks in a row, I mean, you're welcome to do that, but just understand the longer it goes before you make a decision one way or the other, the more money you're likely to lose. Yeah. And in the same way, there's not going to be any registrations full or registrations closed. Can I get in? I will be offended if you ask me. That's
read
just
the information.
Real talk.
like, nobody be
And understand if you're
This is
an
on
AM,
another level now. This is not a bag tag.
If you're on
This
the-
is-
you're gonna have to schedule an extra day off of work as well. Just throw that out there.
yeah,
Thursday,
it's gonna be
Friday,
Thursday
Saturday.
through
Read
Sunday.
the information about the tournament. It's not a Friday, Saturday thing. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We've left that day for you to travel as far as an AM and or watch and participate and watch the pros play.
And
Assuming we can do so with COVID.
And the reason we are so technical on the details is because we have some
Dr. Horzo
crazy things planned. No,
Yeah.
Crazy
crazy
like,
in a good way. Like
Good
yeah,
crazy.
like
you're gonna
topless things
you're gonna see.
of dudes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, that's a good place as any to wrap it up, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Thanks,
just figured it
guys.
would draw
It's been
more
fun.
people to our
Yeah.
event.
We got some big things planned, but
Big things.
Bring your tinfoil hat. We'll have a tent
You're
set
not
up
gonna
for you
wa-
to hang out with
you're
Skinner.
not gonna want to miss
That's right.
it.
talk
That's
about
right.
flat Earth.
You're not gonna want to miss
Not
it.
the non-existent.
You will not want to miss MCO 2021. Promise.
No, you will not.
No.
Be there. Do it, Will. Do your thing.
Be there.
We'll sell
Sell
you
you
the
the
seat, but you'll only need the edge.
He got me.
Got him. Now,
I mean, he did it.
check out the new video. Saturdays are for the boys. The MCDG bag tag on our
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
channel and on Facebook. Like, share, subscribe, rate, review. And next week, I was not scheduling a guest because I potentially was going to be going to New Mexico to help J. Ray and Everett Brophy with an event in Ruidoso, but that is not happening. So I've got a sneaky plan to have a really big guest on the show.
Hold your
Contracts have not been signed, but it's in the works. So stay tuned for details on that. You guys know I like to drop little teaser images and stuff, but until
Does their name start with a B?
You're a tease.
Branda?
I got a
Brenda.
Barb?
Brenda.
Is it
Barb?
Barb?
Is it my late wife, Barb?
Barb.
To be fair,
Allegedly.
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 Berta.
Berta.
All right.
It's off the rails.
On the podcast. On the podcast. The last cash.
Oh, yeah.
I am now.
Back tag.
Bag tag.
You see what happens? Yeah. You need a haircut, Jay.
On the tee, representing Dynamic Disc, Will McCaskill.
Tennessee too, correct?
Yeah. Oh, that's not it.
Nessel. Hey, I got farther than you guys, and you didn't hit a tree. I don't think at all. So, everybody knows Justin Morris, super fan of the show, has been contributing greatly to the success of the podcast, and so we have some rewards for him. We're going to hand him that stuff real quick. He also just had a birthday. Look at this guy. He just had a birthday.
All right, gentlemen.
All right. We got some goodies for old Justin here.
What's up, Jay?
So, here's March, or no, February, last month. Oh, wait, you just dropped a bunch of stuff. What's in there?
Oh,
Oh, wait, there's other stuff in there.
what we got here? We got some stickers.
the last cash pop pocket right there.
Oh, man.
You got some 2021 Disc Golf Pro Tour training cards.
What else you got?
And since he also had a birthday, I went ahead and fattened that up because you're already March's winner as well. But you also had a birthday, so I'm going to change your game in that 50 feet to your drive and put you in a sapphire. Yep. Here's a bag, and we can carry that in my bag. But yeah.
Happy birthday, man.
Justin Morris.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that we're not accustomed to here on the Last Cash podcast, is having a guest who needs no introduction.
No.
Yeah.
And so if you are at home and you have no idea who Jonathan Poole is, well, you've been living under a stone. But he's PDJ number 7505, and among many other hats, he has worked with Innova Champion Disc for over 20 years. He is the tournament director of the sport's most prestigious event, the United States Disc Golf Championship. And when your name is synonymous with things like that, it's kind of enough said, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Enough said.
So, Jonathan, we got all kinds of stuff that we want to talk to you about. How's everything going? I'm sure you're in full swing in preparation for the big show. Do we still have you?
I'm
there's
really well. Just glad to be. Yeah, I'm here.
Cool.
Things are going well. Just glad to be into springtime and to have the season underway. I mean, as a fan, first and foremost, it's one of the best times of the year.
Absolutely. Things are already in full tilt here in Nashville. How many people did we have at our bag tag yesterday, Dr. Hoy?
223.
223
Spread over 2 courses.
rabid disc golf fanatics.
And there's now more disc golf media than you used to kind of keep up each weekend. There was a tournament, but now each tournament produces like 12 videos at least.
True.
Yeah,
if
it's
you could
crazy
even
how
get
fast we
into the
went from
tournament.
everybody looking for content to not being able to pick what to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
How has
Shoot.
jump right into it, and if you will, how has life as one of the biggest companies in disc golf? How has life been since COVID started? How has y'all's attack and plan since all of that? Just the whole process.
Well, the pandemic will hit us probably harder in 2021 than it did in 2020. Disc golf really exploded in the second half of the year.
Absolutely.
And we sold pretty much everything that wasn't nailed to the floor. And, so at this point, I think a lot of manufacturers, Innova included, are a little bit behind the supply curve, trying to catch up as disc golf continues to grow. So that's, we're going to feel that on into this year, but I think that's common for not just the disc golf disc manufacturers, but other manufacturers of various sporting goods equipment. That's a common theme.
Now, were you worried about when it first hit? Were you worried possibly about really, really affecting the outlook of the company and everything? Or was it something that you figured that would pass?
Okay, I got you back.
There we go.
All right.
There you go.
Sorry about that. Yeah, you were saying before everything got squirrely on us that you were confident, and then you kind of got choppy on us. So was there, just to recap the question, I know for a lot of retailers and manufacturers, at the very beginning of the pandemic, it was real touch and go. I know MVP closed up their warehouse. I think Discraft also may have closed up their factory at one point for a certain duration of time. And then all of a sudden, everything exploded. And you mentioned also, Jonathan, that the other sports as well, that's a big problem that the disc golf manufacturers have had, is because now we've got these relationships with big box retailers. And so the supply we do have, that's a big demand, and you have to maintain those relationships or they go away. But yeah, that brings us back to, I think, where we were at. Take it away, John.
Yeah, we were confident once we had a better handle on what we were dealing with. And business came back big, and we were able to move a lot of product. And like I was saying, we'll probably feel it a little more this year than we did last year. As some of these bigger companies on Dick's Sporting Goods or Amazon or Walmart, when their sales grow exponentially, any manufacturer in disc golf's gonna feel that, and it'll be quite the challenge to keep up. So, we're adjusting. There's a lot of flexibility required and a lot of patience. But there's never been a better time to be in disc golf as a company, in the media realm, as a player. It's a great time and an exciting time for the sport.
It's kind of crazy. It's amazing.
All good problems to have.
Yeah.
Along those same lines, I wanted to ask about the players in COVID, because I know one of the biggest was Nate Sexton. He, took the year off, and I don't know if that was, mainly for health and safety reasons. I know he has a young child, but what were some of those times like when kind of, I know when Waco basically shut down, and that's when it became real for the disc golf community. And kind of a side note on that was, I was wanting to learn about like touring pros and health insurance. Like, does Innova give health insurance, or do they have options for that that was kind of tied into that question. Cause
Dr. Hoy is on the PDJ medical.
I was just curious about that. Cause I know you work with the team. And so,
it's, well, from a health insurance standpoint, it's something that's written into some of our star team agreements.
Okay.
Not all of them. We have a pretty big team.
Sure.
You're talking about 150 or so players, and so we would not be able to provide that kind of benefit for everyone. But we do our best to meet people where they are. And so if it's something where they need it and they're out on tour, especially full time, that kind of, people think of disc golf as maybe not being very hard on the body, but dry week is kind of taxing on the body. And sometimes just playing in colder weather or having to take a break and let your body totally cool down and then have to perform at full power. I mean, it's a little more, I think, has a bigger impact on your body than you might think. So we certainly want to do the best we can to take care of people who are committed to, professional disc golf.
And before we get too far ahead of ourselves, that Dr. Hoy touched on something that you and I spoke a little bit about earlier, and it's not been a topic of mainstream news. And just so everybody's aware, he did give me the okay to go ahead and bring this up. But your role at Innova, which you've been with them, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, for over 20 years, and up to this point, you are the only person that has held the position of team manager. And late in 2020, you have shifted roles there at Innova. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I started with Innova in South Carolina back in January of '97. We ran the World Championships that year, so I kind of jumped right into the fire from a tournament standpoint. But at that time, we only sponsored Ken Climo. There was no team, and there were a few other players that were receiving support sort of unofficially, Jeff and Johnny Lissaman and a few other, mainly California guys, but there really wasn't a team. So in '98, I put together a proposal for our two main owners at the time, Harold Duvall and Dave Dunapace, to create a team. And that's what we did. And I wasn't, it was just something that we sort of did on the side there. It was a small team. I think we started out with about 12 players. And so it wasn't something that was a full-time position. And so we were able to run it that way for a while, but the team continued to grow and our company continued to grow and we were pulled in different directions. And it was about 12 or 13 years ago, we decided that it was too important. And, we just needed to have somebody on that full time. And so we created a team manager position, and I assumed that position and held that for 12 years. This past year was 12 consecutive years for me. And, that's a lot, that it's a job you have to kind of always be on. These days we have players in virtually every time zone, and you've got correspondence across all platforms. And, you get to the weekend and a lot of people check out and relax. And that's when things heat up from a team standpoint, and really paying attention and just making sure your players are all right. You want to keep tabs on them, see how they're doing, follow the tournament action. So, it's a job that really almost never sleeps. And so for the better part of those 12 years, I managed not only all of our athletes, but also all of our ambassadors. And so, that's 300 plus people. And for anybody who's ever managed that many people, you will appreciate just how much that entails, especially when it's the community, right? Like, these are my friends. I want to be there for them. I want to be responsive. It creates a lot of anxiety if you emailed me a day or two ago and I haven't responded yet. So when you want to stay that close to everyone and help them as best you can, it takes a lot. And the decision to step down was a difficult one. I believe it was the correct one, but it was tough after being in that spot that many years. But especially the overlap with the USGGC, every fall I'm having to set aside a more than a full-time job to go do another more than a full-time job for about 2 months. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as championship week is over, I was having to immediately transition back to the team manager role and do evaluations on 100 plus athletes and all the conversations that go into getting contracts in place. And it's just, it wasn't really fair to me, and it wasn't fair to the position. It certainly wasn't about me. I mean, I loved it. I have a very hard time stop doing it, but I just realized it's like, look, it's too much for any one person to tackle. I was fearful that I wasn't doing either job to the best of my ability. And, certainly with so much at stake right now with the players and how competitive it is, I felt like it would be better to take a step back, have the entire company sort of reevaluate where all this was going, and let's put some fresh eyes in the mix.
Speaking of contracts, players, things of that nature, over the past 12 years, I'm sure you've seen many different forms of sponsorship, many different forms of teams, all sorts of changes in disc golf. What has been one of the biggest things, I'm sure one of the biggest things that has changed for you over this past 12 years, but then also kind of what your take is on where we're at now with speak of Paul Macbeth with his contracts now, like what is your take on that, and what do you see the sport?
That's a really good question. That was something I wanted to touch on too, because you were mentioning when the team was first created, and in the mid '90s, there was just a handful of people that were on the road actually even making an honest attempt at earning a living or making a livelihood out of disc golf. And it was just, a handful of archetypes that were just paving the way. They were like, I'm going to get out on the road and figure it out. So you've seen the entire concept of sponsorship or sponsored athletes within this sport from the very first stages until now, where Paul Macbeth is getting a $10 million contract. And yeah, so I'm interested to hear what are some significant milestones. Obviously Prodigy in 2013, kind of revamping the model, but I mean, how much of that was strategically cultivated, and how much of it was set by like precedents that happened beyond your control or influence?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways to dissect all of that.
Yeah.
I would say, it has certainly been exciting to see the players get to the point where they are now. I mean, people are dedicating their entire lives. They're setting their lives on hold in some cases to go pursue this dream. And we get it, and I did that briefly. I mean, in the mid '90s, the handful of people that were trying to do it kept getting beat by Ken Climo everywhere they went. He seemed almost impossible to beat. And there wasn't a lot of money there. Even if you won, it still in some cases was a break-even situation at best. So to see it come from that, where you're really literally grinding, to eat, to get to the point where there are, multiple teams. You've got, many players out there now with their own branded rigs. They're able to travel a lot more comfortably. We mentioned earlier the health insurance. There are a lot of different tour series like offerings out there where people are actually able to make a living at it. And so to have watched it go from an avocation, a form of recreation where you're really competing, but now it's to the point where it actually is a career, and Paul is certainly proof of that. And I believe he and I have been very close for a long time. We actually got really close in the Prodigy mix up because he was one of the ones who stayed, and our bond really strengthened during that time. And then obviously he went on his tear after the first Worlds win in Charlotte, and we were very close. And through his departure to Discraft, and even through that whole process, it was difficult, I think, for both of us, but we were friends, and I sort of understood as to the extent of the details that he could share. I wanted what was best for him. He wanted to look after his family. It was an amazing opportunity, and so fortunately for him, it's worked out. But the things that he has done, and I believe envisions doing in the future through the new Paul Macbeth Foundation Disc Golf, obviously through Discraft. He's a LeBron-like figure,
absolutely,
in disc golf, and he wants to be a difference maker, and he always has. It's just I'm glad to have him as a friend. Certainly wish him well, and look forward to seeing what some of these really big changes now, and what these especially these larger contracts. That's a lot of commas and zeros. And that's really gonna reshape things. Whether people want to admit it or fully understand it or can see it yet, you don't have to. You just know that it's going to shake things up, and disc golf, the sport, and the industry are going to be forced to evolve.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to know your insight or your perspective on like the difficulty of maintaining relationships throughout managing people, especially when we're at a level now where obviously high dollar amounts and extra commas and zeros are becoming a part of the equation. But as you said, these are all your friends. These are people that you've had relationships with for years. And so that's it. In my experience, the people that I've been able to do it successfully with, it's just kind of an understanding that there's like an invisible line in the sand between, we're leaving this in this space and that in that space. But it's always been difficult. And there are people to this day that I'm not as comfortable with or as close with as I used to be. And I feel like it has a lot to do with just running the club and running events and
business in general.
Yeah. How is that? Has that been for you? Do you feel like you've had to lose people along the way, or have you been able to maintain your most important relationships there?
Well, I mean, you might not be as close, but with people, I mean, you obviously you go from becoming, you're wearing the same jersey, and then all of a sudden you're not, and friends or not, you're still, you now find yourself competing with one another. But for me, I think it sort of always started with the recruiting process, and making sure that we chose to work with and support the people that we really believed in, that we really liked, who really understood our story, and were willing to work at the relationship, and we're willing to put the work in so that the relationships could grow and mature while we did support them. And then if they move to a different company, which I've seen quite a bit of over the years, it changes the tone of your conversation a little bit. You reveal maybe a little bit less, but it's really no different than we're friends at the course when we get there, and then when we get into competition, I want to beat you and you want to beat me, and we just and you just flip the switch and you go to work, and then when it's over, you go back to hanging out and having a beer and kicking it and whatever, and you just be friends. So you're never not grounded in the thing that got us here. We're all passionate about disc golf. In that realm, you're passionate about competition. And there's a mutual respect there that, you don't have to lose. You can sever it if you want to, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I'm curious to know, obviously you worked with Innova Discs since '97. When did you discover disc golf? When did disc golf happen to you?
Well, it was 93, probably the fall of 93. I had some buddies that had played, went over to their apartment, saw some discs on the floor. We'd love to play catch with a regular lid. Back then was something that we did pretty often, but I saw these funky looking discs on the floor, and I was like, man, what's up with that? And, they had played a few times, and, they told me the story of Kilbourne Park and Reedy Creek Park in Charlotte. And, so I was intrigued. And so we took these discs out into the courtyard, of this apartment complex, and started throwing them back and forth. And I was like, man, this is like, I got to check this out. And so, I just took my big Whammo 165 one day by myself out to Reedy Creek Park in Charlotte. And, just had a blast until it broke. I broke it. I didn't even make it through one round, and I cracked the thing right down the middle. So then it was like, all right, well, got to go find discs. And, man, I was hooked like many people. It changed my life. That one moment, here I am. It changed everything. It changed the entire course of my life for the better. And now I have hundreds upon hundreds of friends all over the world. And, it's just been a great network and a community to kind of get patched into. And I certainly didn't realize at the time that Innova had a location within 30 minutes of where I was at that very moment. And, we just eventually made the connection, and that's how it all started.
So 93 to 97, that's a pretty quick turnaround. And was Harold Duvall, was that the end? Was that your connection? You had a bond with him from a pre-existing relationship?
Yeah, I didn't know him. In 93 is when I discovered the game. I actually went out I watched the tournament called the Fall Finale in Charlotte, and I saw Stan McDaniel and Dave Leamy and Mike Watson. There were some guys that were the top players in the Charlotte area at that time. I was like, wow, this is cool. I was sort of done with competitive sports for the most part. And so I saw it as an opportunity to get involved and really sort of compete on my own time frame. So I started playing, began playing tournaments in '94. The very first tournament I ever played, Harold Duvall was the tournament director. And so I kind of started connecting dots. But I mean, I was traveling and playing, 94, 95, 96. I played in Worlds and helped to run it in 97. And I continued to play on in to 98. And I mean, the business was growing, we went a lot of years in a row where we grew at least 10 to 15% every year. And, I kind of quickly got to the point where, as much as you love disc golf, I mean, if you could do it all day long and then you want to get off work and go play, and then on the weekend you travel to a tournament and you play, and then you go right back to doing it. Like, I mean, I love chocolate milk too, but I can't drink it 24/7, or eventually I'll hate it, or I'll just get burned out on it. And so, I got to a point where I needed to make a decision whether I was going to pursue the professional side in competition, or whether I was just going to, really buckle down and jump into the work side of it. And fortunately for me, I was able to bridge the gap a little bit by creating the team, creating the USDGC. So I was still connected. So the things that I was chasing and wanted to see as a competitor for professional disc golf, I was like, man, this is like, we don't have a big event like this. When we have Worlds, but we don't have anything quite like what we eventually built with the USDGC. And rather than just go try and beat Ken, I was like, hey man, we ought to just build a team. I mean, let's build the best team in the world. And so we did that. And so I was able to kind of come off the course a little bit, but still stay in that lane, and still stay really connected to that community. And I mean, I just built on that, and I'm still building on it today.
What has that been like for you as a tournament director myself, and as for Will and Marcus and Zach here? We're all do a lot of running tournaments. So what has that been like to watch something that you had from birth in the USDGC? What has that been like to watch to where it is now?
On our most recent episode, we were talking to Murder Mike, and we were talking about how within disc golf, it's almost, the comparison could almost be drawn where the World Championships is like the Pro Bowl and the USDGC is like the Super Bowl. And there's all kinds of interesting like parts of that dichotomy that I want to get into tonight. But yeah,
I consider
we'll
it
start
the Masters
there. I mean,
of disc golf.
Did you know? I mean, was that your vision? Like, you custom tailored this from the gate that you were going to make this the belle of the ball?
I mean, that was the vision from the beginning. I guess what I didn't know, there's a lot of confidence to be gained in ignorance. So I was kind of fearless, and what I didn't realize was how much longer it would take than what I thought. I mean, what we're doing now in 2020, 21, and for USDGC, I thought we could do in 5 years. 5 to 10 years, I thought we would be there. And the game wasn't ready. There weren't enough people playing. The media wasn't there. The reach wasn't there. So, the tournament was, the tournament experience was, was probably well ahead of its time. But there were a lot of other things that just weren't in place that other sports, I mean, I was a big X Games fan, and, obviously grew up playing basketball, watching basketball and football. And it's just, that's kind of what you're aspiring to, but we just weren't ready. And it just took time. And that's another reason why I think this is such an exciting time in the game. Now, all of those pieces of the puzzle are in place. You have a lot of touring players. You have a lot of really good players. There are a lot more people that go into a tournament with a legitimate chance to win. There are a variety of media groups that can do solid work. So there's
how much do you think that's changed?
It's hard to put a number on how many more people are playing now than there was then, but we needed a bigger fan base, and now we have it.
Well, that's something interesting to talk about too, is the media aspect of it, because that's become a very influential cog in the whole machine of the USDGC, is the relationship with media and the showcasing of the event.
Well, even disc golf itself in general.
Obviously, if you're going to have the most prestigious event in the sport, how you present it is really
absolutely
everything. So we talked a little bit earlier today about the pay-per-view model, and a lot of times I think we get a little too easily into sounding like crotchety old men that have been doing this for way too long when we talk about the way people gripe and moan on Facebook about stuff. But, as with everything that happens or changes within disc golf these days. Moving to the pay-per-view model for the USDGC, that caused quite a stir, and a lot of people had, as they often do, many opinions to share with anybody that would listen. But as also per usual, nobody takes the time to do a little digging and find out what's going on behind the scenes there, what's really happening. And everybody freaks out as soon as anybody tries to make a little bit of money in this game. H.B. Clark back in the day, everybody in Bowling Green kind of turned their backs on him because he was charging money and he was keeping some of it for his time. And now, he's stood the test of time and he's successful. So yeah, I know you got a little bit of backlash from the pay-per-view model, but that can't be amounting to much, at least much of an impact in the overall cost of the event. I know for MCO, we're happy if we just don't go into the red most of the time.
Well, it's, we pioneered a lot of things in terms of coverage of, live coverage of events back from, the dot tracker where you could watch where the dots were landing on the course. There wasn't a video, but, I remember watching, I want to say it was Worlds, but at the time it was like all you could do was hit refresh and wait to see when rounds ended to see how people were doing. There wasn't the luxury of even live scoring, and so we started out with this little dot tracker and we did a live radio show so where we could just sit and talk. And there's people literally in the shack at Winthrop watching the same dots that you're watching. But you're there, you're sort of in the, in the environment and able to share a little bit about some of that excitement. And we obviously did post-produced from, fairly early on. And then, with Disc Golf Planet, we got in a little bit to live, but it was it's very expensive, to do it the way that you knew you wanted to do it. It was beyond our means when you're also paying for the course and all the setup, and you're paying for all the, the labor hours and, for the Innova office that's in South Carolina, that's been a substantial investment every year.
Sure.
Just in staff time. And so, we just got to a point where we felt like we kind of plateaued. There was really no way to get much better than what we were doing. And so we took a couple of years off from video completely. And we did really well in the pro shop at the course. The championship has always operated as a nonprofit. All the money that comes in either goes back to the players and the payout, or to cover the general expenses of the tournament, or to one of our charitable partners. Innova's not making anything off of that. And so, we took a couple of years off and we saved up enough to where we could take a bigger step. And so that brought in, and it was a 2-year process to find and get to know Fulcrum Media, and have them out to experience an event, then to format the plan on what we were going to do the next year. And, that was our first live endeavor that wasn't pay-per-view, but we had a new media group from outside of disc golf that we believed in. We did the trial run, and then we thought, okay, well, if we want to go to the next level, we're going to need to take a page out of the USDGC Rock fundraising, book. Sure. And instead of going after a $50,000 or $100,000 sponsor, we just got a lot of really small sponsors, a lot of individuals, people who were just super passionate like we were. And so that's kind of what we did. We thought, well, it's a professional sporting event. There are not too many professional sporting events that you can go to or watch without paying something. The athletes don't play for free. The refs don't work for free. Usually coaches don't coach for free. So I thought, all right, well, let's take the leap of faith and let's try the pay-per-view. And so that led us to a 2-year agreement with Vimeo Livestream, one of the leaders in live streaming, and a 2-year deal with Fulcrum. And we were in. Let's try it. And, looking back, I'm glad we did. We've certainly learned a lot. And then, here comes Disc Golf Network. They're using the same platform, and a lot of, we're learning from each other, and we're all sort of pushing the live media experience forward.
I think it's pretty fair to say that Winthrop is kind of mecca for disc golf, but I also know that location can be a double-edged sword where something presents itself in such a unique way and it seems perfect or too good to be true. But a lot of the people that know how awesome it is don't see a lot of the difficulties that it presents, and a lot of these guys know exactly what I'm talking about with where we dealt with it at Ravenwood.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of difficulties.
I mean, and Jay has been to USDGC. He made the trip with Kenny a while back, years ago, 2014, and so he's familiar. I have not had the pleasure of playing Winthrop yet, but or visiting for the USDGC. I hope to in the near future. Now that I'm not busy as you guys are, but how has that been? Like, what kind of difficulties has the university itself? Or just the terrain presented in the fact that you are presenting the most prestigious event and all the media demands and all of that stuff. Is there anything specific that comes to mind in terms of ways that you've had to kind of switch gears or make a course correction in a significant way, or that had a significant effect?
Well, first off, I mean, Winthrop has been unbelievable. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better host over such a long period of time to let us come out there and basically take over their entire athletic complex. I mean, we literally almost every nook and cranny out there has something going on, even if it's just parking related to the event. So the fact that they let us come in and make that big of an impact, and I think that's the answer. We have to kind of do the dance along with the other with actual university athletic events. So there's practices there. I mean, we've worked with soccer, cross country, volleyball, basketball, baseball. I mean, so many different things that go on out there. And, that's where you have to be pretty flexible. We had one year, this goes back many years now, but there was one year where they had a cross country meet scheduled there that had teams coming from all over the Southeast. And, we knew that there was going to be one point during the round on Saturday where we basically just had to suspend play long enough for all these runners to come through. And so that's what we did. And fortunately, the players were cool with it. It wasn't ideal, but it wasn't longer than, what can be a fairly common wait in tournament play. So that was a pretty unusual circumstance, but in terms of managing a front gate, there are a lot of people that need access to that property, and we are responsible, like our staff is responsible for getting everybody onto that property and back off safely and get them to where they need to go, and do so safely. And we've been able to do that for many, many years, thankfully.
My question about the USTGC was the one thing I always wondered, the format not rateable. Like, it's not official rankings like about the play. And is that because of the qualifying criteria or the rules kind of pushing the envelope and having a couple maybe experimental rules, or using more of, certain types of drop zones, or after two missed, drop zones like on hole 17, then proceed, or have after two missed, out of bounds throws, then proceed to drop zone? Or what's the thinking behind that, or how does that work? And have you ever thought about trying to make it rated, or is it always going to be similar format?
I think it'll probably, for the foreseeable future, it's going to continue to be an X. And, I think the rounds can be rated, but I certainly understand that, the PDJ has a different perspective in terms of some of the rules. That's what it boils down to. Sure. 17 is a great example. And that, if you're a fan or historian of the USDGC, how many championships have been won or lost on that one hole. Yep. And so there's just things like that we want to, the championship has always been a testing ground, for a variety of different things, whether it's media or rules or course, triple mando. There's a lot of things, the red and green flags. There's so many things that, that were kind of tested out there. And so, we're not as worried about the rating. I don't think the players are that worried about it not being rated. It'd be cool if it was, but it's not.
I'm sure some of them are.
They're not there for the rating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. They're there for the ring, and the notoriety. You can go from a relatively unknown player to being, your life changing.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, you come win there, and your phone's going to be lit up with pretty much every manufacturer that's looking to stay relevant. And so you can become a household name just like that.
And many people have.
I think, I was going to say, I mean, Chris
and I
Dickerson's
can
a
count
prime
at least
example of that.
5 times in the process of planning a tournament when somebody has looked at me like I had something growing out of my head, and I had to tell them, well, it worked at USDGC.
Yeah.
Well, and I wanted to go back to the broadcast real quick because I didn't quite finish that point. But,
Yeah.
you know, the USDGC, you know, the broadcast, we're in pursuit of better storytelling, better cameras, better quality operators, more gear. I mean, better platforms, so that we can do that. You know, I mean, we want to showcase the best players in the world to the world. And so, you know, all of the money that comes in for that goes right back into the broadcast for paying the commentators and taking good care of the teams. And I mean, you know, this was in 2019. You know, we barely recouped half of what it cost to put on the show that year. Last year, despite no spectators, no on-site pro shop. I mean, only 200 people out there at one time. We had to check, you know, do the temperature scans and everything coming in. You know, we still did something that, you know, for many years we didn't know if it was even going to be possible, and that's have a, you know, broadcast like that actually break even. You know, but I mean, it's like, it's separate from Innova. And I think that's something that's, you know, that people don't necessarily understand. I mean, that was a completely different investment just in that broadcast that had really nothing to do with Innova Champion Disc. And, you know, so when you're buying the broadcast, you're buying into the USDGC and the fact that we've proven to be good stewards of that money. We've proven to take care of everybody that comes on site, and we're proven that we can get better and that we want to get better. And so anything that's left over at the end, that's your surplus moving forward. That's what, you know, going into the next season, you've got as a starting point so that you can take the bar and push it even higher.
I think that's, you know, prime example of why USDGC gets better and better every year.
For
is
sure.
Because of that drive and stuff.
And being willing to experiment and think outside of the box and break your mold. I mean,
speaking of,
this is real quick, because something that I have had waiting on the back burner to ask you about. And I mean, and this is something that definitely, as you were just kind of pointing at, Jay, kind of points to your staying power and the USDGC staying power, because so many times in the sport, just in the how long has it been? 2013 I started playing, so 9 years now. Just in 9 years I've been around. You start hearing, as you're watching the sport evolve and the way that the technology is evolving and the talent is evolving, you start to see things being outgrown. And you see a perfect example of that with the Memorial Championship, where it's no longer on the Pro Tour. It's not a national tour event. It's an A-tier. Obviously, the big names are showing up to it because of its stature and its sentimental value and all that stuff. But, you know, there have been, with the USDGC, many years where format changes or course changes and OB changes and things like that have created a fracas on social media, with everybody talking about how much they disagree with this or how much they like this and all of that. But however much noise any of those changes or ideas have made, everybody still, when you ask them at the beginning of each year, what are they wanting to do? They want to go to USDGC. Like, that's what everybody's looking forward to. So it doesn't really matter, like performance flight, mozzarella sticks, all this other stuff that always people gets everybody up in arms about the event. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And I think, like, for me, what has kept me, I guess, in everybody's good graces, even though I've made some boneheaded maneuvers, is because I was willing to try something new. And if I made a mistake, I owned it and I explained it. And I said, this is why it won't happen again. This is, you know, and you're just open and transparent with it. But yeah, how has that changed over the years? I mean, what are some specific examples that you can think of in ways that you've had to kind of step back and reevaluate your plan with, just in terms of laying the course out, or how you're going to have certain rulings in play?
Well, you know, we're always tweaking things. You know, we're always in pursuit of better. You'll hear me say that a lot. And, you know, when people, you know, when people complain or they're passionate or spirited in their opinions, it just, it's fuel for us because it reminds us of how much they care. How much it really means to them. And that sort of recenters the conversation, at least for me, because we care. Like there's nobody out there who cares about whatever your beef is or whatever you think about it. Like however much you think you care about it, I'm right there with you. Sure. Like I haven't met anybody who cares any more about it than I do, and if you like it or don't like it, it matters. And if you can express that in a somewhat peaceful way, we're going to take all that in. And, we come out of every one of these events with pages of notes on things we can do better. And we've been doing that the whole way. And so, we've done a lot of things that turned out great. And we've done a lot of things that you look back on and it's like, man, that was dumb. What were we thinking? But again, we made it clear from the beginning that we wanted this. We wanted to be guinea pigs of sorts. We wanted to put ourselves out there. We wanted to try things. We didn't want to just stick with the norm. And, we knew that we were going to misstep here and there. And we certainly have learned that you're going to be criticized, even more harshly as the audience grows. But man, that's part of it. That's part of it. I'm just glad they're talking about us. Absolutely. And that it matters to them. I would hate if there was cricket because then we would clearly be wasting our time.
Sure. Absolutely. I would have to say, and I agree with you on that statement. And then with that comes the other half of those people whose complaints come in that are just not unwarranted, but from an uneducated point of view. That would be the other side of that. And how do you go about handling some of that when it's purely, maybe not in the passion, it's maybe purely uneducated? Do you take the time to maybe educate them in a nice way, or do you simply just kind of step off of it and don't approach it at all?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. Sometimes the volume dictates that, you can't, sometimes you can't answer everyone and do the other 947 things you need to do in that moment. I want to respond to everyone. I want to enlighten them. I want to share my passion. I want to let them know that they are heard. And, I've always done my best to get to as many people as possible. Sometimes it's not possible, and I think if there's anybody here that, purchased the broadcast last year and had troubles accessing it, or, it was a little clunky, I realized that, some people just had trouble getting in. And so the first thing they're doing is like, they're messaging me, they're emailing, it's on Facebook, my phone's ringing, I'm getting text messages, it's all over the place. And so, my job last year was, for the better part of every day, was being the pay-per-view customer service person, and I had people that were pissed.
Oh, I'd imagine, man.
I'm like, dude, man, I'm right here. Like, I'm going to talk you through this. We're going to get you in there. And they're on me, like they're working me. And I'm like, dude, just hold tight, man. Have you tried this? Have you done this? Have you restarted your computer? Whatever. And so I was thrust into an IT like tech support role, for almost the entire championship, just trying to help people, and I had people that was, as crazy as that sounds, like some of the most rewarding memories I will have are people who were cussing me when we first connected and who were thanking me in the end because I didn't give up on them. And it was something that, sometimes, it was something we could have done better. Sometimes it was their own ignorance. Doesn't matter. Whatever it was, and we worked through it. But I feel like the championship earned a lot of respect in some of those moments, even if it was, call it 50 people. And let's say there were 50 hot cases. We reconciled darn near every one of those. And I think people just didn't expect. They're like, dude, you're the one, like, you're actually the one emailing me and messaging me back and, and coming back and making sure that I enjoyed the show. And so that's just the level of customer service that's always been a priority for us as a company, for me as an event director, to the fans, to the players, just starts with that, right? We're in the memory making business.
It's the experience that you're selling. And
a good note for anybody watching that's a TD or listening, be ready to wear a lot of hats and make it look good, because that's where the good TDs and the big events come from, is, being flexible, being able to adapt on the fly.
Where do you, I'm trying to get something out of you here, maybe. Have you yourself personally, or last year when it came to actual network coverage of disc golf? Did you have a hand in any of that, and do you have possibly a hand in any of this coming up, or do you see that or in fruition coming up in the future? More coverage of that nature?
In terms of
like network coverage.
In terms of
disc golf, yeah.
With the disc golf network or networks outside
with ESPN, CBS, those big guys.
I mean, I didn't really have a direct hand in any of what happened this past year. I mean, I know when Dynamic worked out the deal with CBS, you know, I was able to speak directly with Jeremy Rusko over there, who was, you know, kind of one of the main drivers of that. And, you know, we pledged our support, you know, to helping make that possible. But I wasn't talking to CBS directly. I mean, I've had those kinds of conversations in the past. I haven't really been pursuing that in recent years myself because, man, it's, you know, I hope that it works out, and I hope we get a lot of new eyeballs. I think we're already getting them anyway. I think people are pouring into the game fast enough. So I'm still kind of questioning whether or not two things. I'm questioning whether or not it really does deliver the value, you know, 50,000, 75,000, whatever, versus doing it on your own platform. You know, I mean, I question whether or not that's really worth it. And I still question whether or not we can make disc golf entertaining enough that people outside of like the rabid fans, that, you know, the people who play all the time and are willing to accept almost whatever type of coverage you throw at them. Like, those aren't the people I'm focused on. For me, like, if you just tune in, you're just scrolling through the channels and you see it, is it interesting? Or do you just keep clicking?
Well, I mean, does it end up being one and done?
We still, as a sport, have to prove ourselves.
Sure, and I see where you're coming from with the USDGC and constantly trying to get better with the storytelling. And for me, the video coverage went through the roof when it came to Jomez and those guys. They really put it on another platform. But then you still see a kind of a lag, at least to me, in the storytelling and the commentation of the actual events. Sometimes it's just them talking about what just happened rather than building a story for later on down the road, as where you see with a lot of other sports. And
with the championship, you see a format that already builds the framework for storytelling, because how many people that the entire world of disc golf follows weekend in and weekend out on the tour, how much of each of their seasons is colored or framed by their chase for USDGC. You know,
everybody wants
I mentioned
to qualify.
earlier at the beginning of every season, people are like, "Oh, it's all about USDGC. It's all about, oh yeah, I'm going to USDGC, I'm hoping to get in USDGC." And it's like, and then even you know, you look into like Eric Oakley just a couple of years back had a really dramatic moment where all he wanted to do his whole disc golf career was play in the championship, and he Monday qualified. And so it's this whole thing is built in a way that tells a story, and there's drama and suspense, and it's already created, and it's got momentum. And I'm curious because I know I was kind of smacked in the face by the realization that I had no idea how the selection of qualifying events and all that stuff worked. I think it was maybe 2019 MCO. Somebody congratulated me on the tournament being a USDGC qualifier. And I was like, "Oh yeah, thanks." And I was like, "Dr. Hoy, did you know we were a USDGC qualifier?" I had no idea.
I already knew.
And then he asked me the other day, or a couple weeks back when we were in Planet, "Are we going to be a USDGC qualifier?" And that was when I sent you that first message that ended up precipitating us being here tonight. But how has that all worked? And I know that there are much fewer qualifying events this year, and that's caused a lot of questions and stuff as well. So what's the strategy there, and how has that all kind of worked together chemically?
Well, the strategy is just to give the greatest number of people in the country, the best shot to place. I mean, we want a shot at attending a qualifier. So we try and spread them out as best we can geographically. It used to be that every national tour was always a qualifier. Now it's kind of a little bit of a balance where you have some disc golf pro tour events, you have some national tour events, and you have some others that are not tour events, but they're just in a part of the country. It's like Southern National Championship for years. I mean, it was a B tier. It was a qualifier that was a B tier almost every year for 2 decades. And it was a qualifier because there was no other event for the players in that area that was better. And so we just try and put out the best spread that we can. Coming into this year, there are fewer qualifiers. There've been a decent number of questions about that. But that's more a reflection of the fact that we want to bring, the FPO division back to Winthrop permanently. And so that'll be a 40-person field. There's that many tee times, or that many people that we want to get in there. And so it's going to reduce the size of the USDGC field. So we need to make eligible fewer players, so you have fewer qualifying events. And then,
so will Monday qualifying go away?
No, we'll still do Monday qualifying, and Monday is one of the best.
I mean, that was one of the best things.
Some
for
cool
me
stories have come out of Monday qualifying.
It's one of the most underrated days by far of championship week, because you don't know what to expect, and the drama is awesome. And you realize just how badly people want to get in. And I hope to step up the media coverage of that. Talk about storytelling. We've
Absolutely.
never in all these years done that justice, really.
That's a great opportunity. Yeah.
But I think those days are coming. But the other thing for this year is, there were players last year who qualified that weren't able to make it to Winthrop because of travel restrictions. And so we didn't want to penalize them. And so, they're in as well. So we feel like we got it about right in terms of making the right number of people eligible. That if we get, our usual percentage of people of that number who register, we're going to be right about where we'd like to be. And we have a pretty good read now on what it takes time wise to get people through the Winthrop course and not have any delays. I mean, again, it's built for media. We don't want a bunch of delays. We want the train rolling smoothly through. And, it takes into consideration any kind of weather delays. It takes into consideration what happens if we have to stop and we have to finish the next day. It takes into consideration, well, what if we're still got some pandemic related things and we know that we have to have 15-minute tee time intervals instead of 8 or 10. It's taken a lot of things into consideration that we've learned over the years that people might not think of when they just see the list and they're like, well, dude, where's all the qualifiers? There used to be like twice this many. Well, those are some of the reasons why.
How many, just real quick, just from my own knowledge, what do y'all do with overseas? How many qualifying events do y'all usually do overseas typically?
It's been, I'd say 3 to 5 historically. Okay. This year it's the European Open and the Sula Open. We got a major and a Pro Tour event. We are also, inviting the international qualifiers from last year. So that sort of offsets why you might look at it. It's like, man, there's only 2 international. Well, that's why. Plus the event in Canada. We had 5 players qualify at the Foxwood Open up in the, Toronto area, and, they couldn't come. And so, so there's actually 3 other qualifiers, worth of players that are able to come. It's just they're not going to be on the list because they qualified in 2020.
Awesome. And
that's unusual. We've never done it. We've never had to do anything like that.
In my very unprofessional opinion, and I'm going to make a suggestion to you for your media thing, simply because I enjoy it. But please bring back Kenny. Please bring back Climo for commentary, because his knowledge.
So many
of the game
people
so
got their
awesome
pitchforks out about that.
Like
I saw so many comments about them like tearing him apart about his.
See, I thought he was exactly what
it
I
shocked
wanted to
me.
see
I thought it was
commentary.
great. Yeah, I thought it was exactly what you'd want. Yeah.
You just got to get, you got to get away from the ands and ums. And as a commentator, like we had to get away from it. We do it all the time, even on the podcast. But you go back and listen. You make yourself better. Try to anyway. But I just enjoyed his take on things because of his knowledge of the game.
And I think you're in the majority. We certainly agree with you, and I think more people, really appreciated his insight than didn't. And there are a lot of people who don't even know who he is. But that guy was, he's in my mind, he's still, he's one of the best, and I was pretty pleased with how things went, with bringing in Ian Anderson and giving Philo a shot and having the 2 separate commentators for the 2 shows. I was really pleased with how how that went, and we'll look to probably mix it up. That's one of the best that's one of the best parts. I mean, you can have $1 million worth of camera equipment out there, and you put the wrong people in front of the screen, and it doesn't matter.
I thought the combo of Juliana Korver last year and Hannah Macbeth, I watched a lot of that coverage, and her analysis too was spot on. That was
it's funny,
great
like,
to see.
as you progress through the game, even as a player yourself, how much the knowledge, like or even when you throw bad shots, you know what you did. And and then to watch somebody, as we all say in this room, we're much better teachers than we are players.
Yeah.
But it's you pick up on those.
I was excited to see. I was excited to see Julianne. I mean, she's brilliant and very knowledgeable and well spoken. She's just shy, especially camera shy, and she'd never really done anything like that. And so it was a huge step outside of her comfort zone to do that. But I think once she got comfortable, we saw what we knew we could get if we could just help her get comfortable. And I thought they did a great job. And we're going to need. That's another area where you're going to need to continue to take some risks. And we also had multiple commentators because we knew that at any point, I mean, if somebody showed up in the morning with a slight fever, they couldn't come in.
Sure.
And I mean, so you had backup plan for your backup plan for your backup plan everywhere that you possibly could, keeping it under 200 people. Like that was one of the most complex things to,
I can't
pull off. I mean, because you figure, well, what happens if I show up and I've got a fever? What happens if our producer or both of our producers show up and they can't come in? Who's then what? We've sold, all these pay-per-views. And so it was like, that was definitely the most challenging in ways that were completely, foreign to most of us, but just making sure you had a plan B, if not a plan C and a plan D. But fortunately it worked out. I mean, we had everybody come in and go back out, and there were no positive cases, no issues to our knowledge.
Yeah, we had great success here as well. We shut down when the PDGA kind of closed the gates, and then worked with Mike Downs and Big Dog, and my co-host, my esteemed co-host, Dr. Hoy, is an infectious disease specialist, and he actually I mentioned earlier, he serves on the PDJ medical committee, but he was a big help in us coming up with a comprehensive plan on how we could come back and have events but keep everybody safe. And we had no documented transmissions at our events. We had, I think, 3 or 4 members of the club came up with the virus. But it was not. It had nothing to do with being at the event.
Disc golf as a whole, I feel like, nationally has done a wonderful job with managing this.
It's been really good, and especially with how touch and go everything else has been. We're pushing right about an hour, and just for everybody's edification, I do want to let JP get back to his family this evening and not take up too much of his time. But clearly, we have a lot that we could talk about and a lot of questions we want to ask. We're definitely going to have to do this again. I might see if we can find a weekend day maybe sometime in the relatively near future where it's not as much of a inconvenience for you being on the Eastern time zone, and we can kind of make something happen. Sure. But I know Dr. Hoy specifically, he made quite a list of some really, really good questions. And so if you had one burning question.
Yeah, one burning question that is one of my favorite parts of USDGC every year is not about the play, is the golden rake. Like the volunteer of the tournament, how did that start, and what's like maybe one quick story you can tell about a volunteer that's won that award?
Wow. Well, we were several years in before that idea came up, and we always refer to the staff as kind of the secret sauce. You can have a great venue, you can have money, you can have all these things, but if you don't have people that are passionate and well informed and well managed and all that, you got to have people. And fortunately we've always had that. People have believed in us and believed in the event and what we were doing. And so it's not uncommon for people to travel across the country and plan their vacations to come and help do this. And just that kind of commitment and sacrifice we knew was something that was as important as what was going on the course. Sure. In terms of the competition. And so we came up with the idea for the Golden Rake. And in the early years, it was presented to who, really just went above and beyond the call of duty for that particular year leading up to the event. And over the years, it's just kind of, there's been so many people and their contributions have been fantastic that it's just now it's more like a Hall of Fame. There's people that have been waiting that are going to get in at some point. It's just a matter of time. And so it really has kind of just evolved into more of like a Hall of Fame ceremony kind of thing. But, one of the cool memories that I have, it's not related to the rakes specifically, but it is related to the staff. And I think it's an idea that a lot of other tournaments or tournament directors might consider. And this idea was presented to me by, Pete May, out of the Augusta area, who's another, mentor of mine. And, so he basically said, man, you need to treat your volunteers like rock stars. And here's what I think you need to do. And so he basically said, let's get everybody together, take a picture, and put them on a poster. He's like, you guys have awesome posters for the event. I want you to bring all your staff together and get them all in their gear, and take a picture and do that. And so we did it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to borrow that idea and we're going to do it. And that very first year we did it. And, it was pretty cool because we take the picture before the opening ceremony, which is the day before the event starts. It's on a Tuesday night. We usually get the file. We have the file waiting at the printer the next morning. And by the end of that day or early the next day, we would have those posters in the pro shop at the course where everybody's streaming through. Of course, all the staff get them and you have them in the volunteer office, but it was just kind of one of those things you just, it'd be hard to pinpoint one golden rake winner or one moment because they've all been awesome in different ways. But like, that's a family like that. The USDGC team, that staff, that volunteer crew.
People have been there for
that's
years.
A family, man. There's a lot of people in there that we're just super tight. That goes back a lot of years.
Yeah. Well, we definitely praise your drive and testament and running events and making events bigger and better and setting the example for all of us.
Yeah, I mentioned to you earlier, when somebody like me and all these guys, when we tear into something like the Music City Open and trying to elevate its position, that's, we pull from
you guys
a couple models, it's GBO, USDGC, who's doing it the best. Mm-hmm. And what do you hope to be like one day? What kind of position do you hope to have? We have one segment on the show that we always try to make sure we get, especially with any first-time guest. It's my favorite segment. Marcus, you want to fill JP in?
We got the pineapple also.
Yeah.
So I always ask. I know, right?
See the colors.
You won't be able to see the colors at all. What I like to ask our guests, one tip that you can give any amateur players or somebody just getting started in the sport. Doesn't have to necessarily be like form related. It can be anything as far as like showing up early or stretching before the round. So if you have a tip for us, just please bless us with it.
Well, I guess from a practice standpoint, let's talk about the player side of it. Get out in a field and practice and put in the reps. Don't just play rounds. Rounds are important. Competitive rounds are important, but getting in reps. Steph Curry didn't get to be the best shooter in the history of the NBA just by playing games. Like, that dude has drained so many shots in the gym by himself, you can't even imagine. He's learned the muscle memory. He knows how to do it. And so just take every disc you have, or all the ones you're willing to throw, and get out into a field and work on every shot just again and again and again and again, and really put in the work, because there are a lot of people now who are, great golfers and aspiring to be great golfers. So there's no shortcuts. You got to put in the work, and for the players that are looking for sponsorship, and to make it on tour and to, and live that dream, be patient, realize that, for Innova as an example, I can tell you from personal experience, 300 to 400 probably sponsorship requests a year that we turn down. So there are a lot people gunning for that. You have to work on your social media game. You have to work on your own brand, and have a little bit of a plan there, and be, just be mindful of how important that is, in terms of delivering value back to, not just a potential sponsor, but, to the fans. We want people to root for, and so that's taking care of your business off the course. Work hard at it. If you endeavor to be a professional disc golfer, just know that you got to work at it from all angles. It's not just throwing 500 feet. I mean, it's all of it.
So I guess I got one more question. A question. One more. So,
one.
If I compare it, three people, Paul Macbeth, Callie McMoran.
Callie
McMoran, yeah. And Scott Stokely. Which one of these people would be like the best as far as like growing the sport, as far as like their aspect and their approach to
how they're
disc
doing
golf
so?
currently?
That's kind of apples and oranges.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
Apples and oranges are good, bro. I love apples and oranges.
Don't mind me.
Fruit be compared.
So you had Paul, Callie, and Stokely.
Yes.
Different approaches, I think.
Yeah. Three different approaches, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
major
different approaches.
Right.
But they're, I got to see Stokely in his prime, and the thing that was impressive, we're just talking about fans and knowing your brand, and, Stokely was incredible because he threw shots that you didn't see. You'd be walking along with him and you're thinking, okay, is he going to go to the left or is he going to go to the right? And next thing you know, he throws it like over everything. And it was just, you wanted to go watch. He made you want to watch because you knew, and it went to his own detriment. It might not have always been the smartest golf shot, but he was an entertainer.
Sure.
And I think that was really good for the game because you knew he was on the course. He's a big, tall dude, and he just threw bombs, and you just wanted to go watch, and that was exciting. And that's the kind of thing that will translate to fans on camera, off camera, whatever. Paul is more like Tiger in that, dude can just go off. He can just get into a zone where it just you might not see the big shot, the big towering, just crazy height, crazy distance. But he's the closest thing to a machine I've seen since Clono.
Yeah.
Where it's just and if the pressure's ratcheting up, doesn't matter. They're just going to get that
makes
much
it
more
better.
It's unreal.
So you have to be like Stokely would appeal to anybody because it's amazing. Paul, I think, really has more appeal to the people who are out there grinding, trying to master their game for themselves. It's like, dude, how does this guy make every shot? How does he make every putt? How does he stop in the middle of while there's somebody on a bicycle at Fountain Hills, and then he stops and he comes right back and he drains a 50-footer because he has to. It's like that's the kind of stuff that's just amazing. So for the more experienced fan, like that dude's just a game changer because he can just ball out like the greatest of all time. Somebody like Callie, totally underrated because like she's hustling.
She's a hustler, dude. She is such a little hustler.
And she's just out there, just wants to turn you on to the game. She'll get in the trenches. She'll do whatever it takes. They don't come any better. There's a ton of great people in the game, in the community, but she's awesome because she's not even necessarily looking for the limelight. If you need to stand there, she's got to stand there and scan people's temperatures at the front gate, the USDGC. If that's what's called for, she'll grab a mask and a thermometer and be like, yeah, and just start doing it.
Yeah, she ain't scared.
She's just determined. She's like, I'm going to get a rig. I'm going to do this in sales. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to get a wrap. I'm going to get a truck. I'm going to go to Dick's. I'm going to
don't you dare get in my way.
Somebody like that, this got that kind of initiative and hustle. It's like, girl, what can we do? What can we do to help?
What do you need? What do you need from us? All right. Well,
long-winded answer.
No,
but
that's
I mean,
great.
I wanted to talk about
perfect.
the apples and the oranges and the pineapple because they're very impactful in very different but equally important ways.
I am
Absolutely.
I rebuke myself for butting into Marcus's question. He just mined you for gold, and that was great. So big up, bro. Good job. Good call on that one.
One every day. That's
Well,
it.
he always does something
I'm out.
amazing. He's
Peace
like
out,
that
guys.
dude.
How are the dogs
Comes
doing?
off the bench and throws a triple double, and nobody expects it. And then he's like, "I'm done here."
I know you had some beautiful dogs running around back in 2014. They still doing well.
Oh yeah. I've been I was a dog trainer in a former life, and I've had Dobermans forever. And that was probably Molly. She was a little younger then, but for most of my adult life, I've had at least one Doberman hanging around.
It's funny because I have a Doberman also by the name of Molly. So she's actually a mixed Doberman boxer mix, but looks like a Doberman, and her name is Molly as well. Half and half. Mind blown. I didn't copy you, I promise, because I did meet his dogs back in 2014.
He named his dog after you, JP. Isn't that sweet? Bless his heart.
I've trained. I've trained almost every breed you could think of, and
They're amazing.
And there are a lot of great dogs. But Dobermans way back when I was younger just kind of found a place in my heart, and still there.
Glad to hear it, brother.
All right, so before we jump off this thing, is there anything that one of you guys is going to lose sleep over tonight knowing that you were on a podcast with Jonathan Poole and you forgot to ask him?
What kind of oil do you use in your beard?
Beard brand. We'll tag there. This.
I have no beard.
He can't do it. He's
Clean this guy on the
beard
fucking
envy.
podcast right now.
When's Arby's going to sponsor the USDGC?
That's a good one.
I would love to. I just step it up.
Probably pretty soon. We've had some good conversations with them. I'm excited to announce that Bushnell is next. We just in the past couple of weeks worked out a great deal with them for 2 years. So we're really excited about that. Arby's, I think, it's kind of one of those things where it's I love what the mozzarella sticks do. I think it's important what they do. Obviously, I'd rather it be trees, so
Sure.
they're definitely a little cheesy. They're even cheesier when you wrap them and try and make them not look cheesy. That just adds to the cheese. So, I guess I would want to make sure with any sponsorship that we know that we're achieving their goals. And so with somebody like Arby's, I'd rather see some kind of insert with curly fries that are just steaming with cheese melting all over. And it's something that makes me hungry and makes me want to go get Arby's right there. If calling wooden post mozzarella sticks inspires somebody to actually go buy curly fries and a Jamocha shake, and great. It's harder for me to make that connection, but if that's what they want, then we'll talk about it.
We'll do it.
USDGC, we have the meats.
I have a mozzarella stick suggestion. You could decorate them like Christmas
No,
trees.
bro.
That'd be cheeky.
I'll work with you on that. Okay, that was pretty bad.
He's got
Stick to podcasting, Will.
Can stick to beat making, beatbox for us.
Hey, those are the kind of things that you talked about. Some of the things that we tried that have worked and haven't worked. That's one of those things that it works. It serves a purpose on the course. It absolutely impacts play. I think in a positive way. I'm more of the purist. I think they're a little bit goofy. I kind of side with the crowd who thinks they're goofy. But at the end of the day, the fact that so many people are talking about them, and you can say something as obscure as mozzarella sticks, and people go Winthrop, USDGC. So.
But did they spell USDGC
right? Talking about you.
And what's crazy about that whole, you don't pick up on it just watching it, is those dogs can be more distracting than anything on that back side of those fences. Because they just do not let up.
Oh yeah, on two, there's one house in particular where these dogs would just, that's why 2 years ago when we did away with hole 2 and put the spectator, the spectator village and everything over there and put all the vendors, it's like, it wasn't just for the dogs, but that was one of the reasons. It was added, and if it was just put a big trailer right in front of them and they could just bark at the back of the trailer, and not be 15 feet away from somebody who's throwing a shot that really matters at the USDGC.
Yeah, and those people with those dogs have no freaking clue. Get a clue. Figure it out.
I bet the people around there know. They know. Driving through that area, there's just it's kind of like being an employee. There's baskets
how
at
could
every
you not?
school. There's baskets at houses. I mean, they've done a good
Well,
job.
and every
of inoculating.
school, I mean, every school in Rock Hill has the Edge program. I mean, it's a model city for disc golf in that we have the championship. We bust 800 to 1,000 kids out to the tournament every year, and every school in Rock Hill has the targets, has the disc, has the curriculum, actively teaches disc golf year in and year out.
Do y'all do that outside of there, or like help other people get set up doing that with y'all? I mean, obviously, you probably have some type of suggestions when you go into a school to hand them a curriculum.
Yeah, I mean, I would turn people on, especially if you're a promoter in your community. I mean, go check out, just Google Edge disc golf and look at, or any, there's some other alternatives now, but you can't, as a promoter. And this is actually how I met Harold and got to know the guys at Innova at that time. I mean, I was only the fourth person, hired in that location. But my mom was a school teacher in Charlotte, and I was going to schools, just setting up with my own basket and my own disc, and just being a disc golf evangelist. And that's how I made the connection. Was I needed stuff, I needed targets, I needed stickers, I needed minis, I needed more stuff. And that's where they're like, man, we got you, we can help you out. And that's kind of, that was one of the first things that I got their attention from a business standpoint. But you can't teach. No one person can teach all the kids. So you got to teach teachers. And that's what Edge was all about. Like we'll grow exponentially faster if we go teach the teachers. And, that's kind of where the Edge program came from. So, I mean, and I never did a school demo where the kids didn't love it and the teachers weren't grateful. They just, but you can't just go in and get them excited and then leave them, so the Edge program was the way to bridge the gap. You go in, you set up, you get the kids all excited, and then you go, here's what you do. Here's how you can teach this and measure the results, which that's what they have to do as educators. They have to be able to do that. And Edge met that void. And so, if you can get an Edge program going in your community, you'd be surprised how quickly one school picks up, all those educators, especially PE teachers, they have their own conferences. If you can, go to the conference. I mean, but like once one starts to do it and they start to kind of figure it out, the next thing you know, you have a Rock Hill on your hands where everybody is doing it. And everybody that rolls through a PE class, is going to be taught disc golf. And that's just, that's gold,
super.
Man.
Yeah, that's absolutely gold,
That's
especially
good stuff right
being
there,
involved. I mean, four of us in this room are on the board of directors for the Music City Disc Golf Club, and being a nonprofit, one of our main goals is giving back to the community, not only with support, but also with growing our own sport. So that is absolute gold. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, JP, I can't thank you enough for being willing to talk to us tonight. I know it's the beginning of the week and you have a family and kids and everything. So, most grateful for you taking the time. And I am sincere. We definitely need to do this again soon.
Yeah, well, save your questions that we didn't get to. And I'm sure, reflecting on some of this or watching it back, there's probably others that will come up. I mean, I've always tried to be as transparent as I possibly can. I mean, I'm just like you, man. I love disc golf. I want to do what I can to kind of pay it forward. I mean, the game has been good to me and better than good. It's not fair to say it's been good. Yeah. It's been life changing. And, hopefully through this effort together, we can change the lives of others.
Amen, brother.
Absolutely.
Pound through the screen.
Air fist
distance
bump.
pound. Socially distance.
And come down and see us in late September. Come join us for our
He'll be a little
shindig.
busy.
Yeah, we'll be busy, but you can come down and enjoy.
We'll pass like trains in the night. But no, come in like winter. Come for Halloween.
Come
for Halloween. That'd be fun. But yeah, if you're ever in Nashville, come and hang out at the studio. We'll do this in person.
Well, I need to get back out there. It's been a while, so I've always enjoyed coming through Nashville, and I haven't played every course there, but I've played several and always enjoyed that. Got some good friends in town, so I'll get back when I can.
Absolutely.
Well, have a great night. Thank your family for letting us borrow you, and until the next time, our paths should cross. We'll catch you on the flip side, JP.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Man. Y'all take care.
See you, buddy.
Have a good night.
Yep. Bye.
We love you guys. Like, share, subscribe, rate, review. Give us some money. We'll catch you next
Let the bass kick.